Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a SMZ3 Randomizer round of 16 match between azder and hatch78. I am Error. Joining me on comms is Totes Olive. How you doing, Totes?
I'm doing pretty good, and I am excited to watch this race.
Excellent. We'll be getting started in approximately 5 minutes. There's a 10-minute delay on this race, and they started this off about 5 minutes ago, so um, hang out with us. It'll be a good one.
So, Era, what are you kind of looking for? What do you want to see in this race? What kind of seed are you looking forward to?
Everyone really likes. I find that the audience really likes that one like troll seed. Maybe starts off kind of nice. Heck, gives a lot of options, and then there's that one zinger of an item that the runners can't find. That hoping for it's on Ped or it's on Shack Tool or it's on Green Pendant, things like that. So.
So, you mean
Uh,
the real ice rod hunt?
Maybe not ice shot. Let's go with something like let's go with mitts. Mitts is a good hunt.
You know, one thing I haven't seen in any of these SMZ3s so far has been an Aga seed. So, I honestly would really love to see an Aga seed.
So to give a little bit of a rundown on our two contestants, azder went 3-0 in groups and received a bye, so he has not run a race in the brackets. Hatch went 2-1 in his group and defeated Thor's Carathesis in the round of 24. So he is in the second match of brackets. Helping us out, we have our wonderful tracker, Ikir. Wave to him in chat. And we should be getting going in about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, and we are going to have, interesting enough, on the restream here, we do get to see Hatch on Facecam, so we will get to see some, we'll say, reactions to maybe some of the more trolly things, and if something really interesting happens or we see some interesting reactions, we'll make sure to relate those to you guys. But yeah, ideally, I would love to see an Agaseed, maybe put Morph Ball on Lumberjack. That'd be kind of fun. But lock the Moon Pearl, or not Moon Pearl. Let's see, Morph Ball on Lumberjack and Sword behind Speed Booster. How about that?
Ooh. Not sure I'm a big fan of that one, but that sounds harsh. I don't know if I want it too harsh. Although our chat may want some more harshness after seeing that awesome Zelda 1 randomizer crowd control. The chat cannot influence this race, but they can sure root these runners on.
Chat asking why I hate the runners. I don't hate the runners. I am a big fan of route heavy seeds that reward the runners who gather information, because I just find those ones to be a little bit more interesting and exciting. That's all. Although honestly, both of these runners are really good, and we can expect some probably really insane low percent stuff out of azder if this does end up being a more execution heavy seed.
I would say that azder does have the advantage in gameplay, especially in Super Metroid, but in a randomizer, as long as SMZ3, either of these racers could win.
So between the two racers, who has the which racer is stronger in which game here?
I don't know too much about either one, about azder's A Link to the Past. but he is exceptionally good at Super Metroid, and Hatch is no slouch at Super Metroid, but azder what does have a fairly significant advantage in gameplay wise for Super Metroid. Super Metroid is, of the two games, I find has a higher skill ceiling and a lower skill floor, so differences in A Link to the Past aren't quite as noticeable as they are in Super Metroid.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And also, I think one of the things that's a little more telling in Link to the Past is the glitches that are allowed. If you're able to do those glitches, they can be a significant advantage if they allow you to kind of skip logic. I think a little bit more than you have in Super Metroid, because if I remember right, about the only real glitches we use are just a couple of skips in like Pink Bryn and a few of the gates. Oh, and we look to be off to the races. So how do you think this is going to start out?
Well, I will be very, very surprised if either one of them goes and checks the morph ball location. This is a normal mode race, so the logic basically requires no glitches. That's not stopping our runners from performing glitches if it so suits their needs, but the logic will not require it. So there's only one item currently in Super Metroid that is available for our runners in logic, and that is the morph ball pedestal. So our runners are likely to make the easy A Link to the Past checks. And so they start off with Link's house. Azder is headed up to what I would assume to be Uncle. They'll check Kakariko Village very early. They'll check things like Mini Moldorm Cave for item density and just see where the items take them.
And so far, all we found are missiles on Lake Hylia, a heart in Link's house, and then super missiles up in the sanctuary. And you were right, Azder is going to the Umble check. And it looks like Hatch is going to head toward Kakariko, and I look like Green Pendant on Eastern, is that correct?
I think that was the case. I also saw a blue pendant in Tower of Hera. I did not catch what was a desert.
Me either. Hopefully our tracker saw that because I missed it. So Rock Solid asked why they jumped into the river before saving and quitting. They do that because they're checking what the is on the island in the lake. And our tier 1 pull was, it looked like rupees. Tier 2 is full magic.
Looked about right.
And we've got blue rupees on the crab.
So until we get a morph ball, our runners are going to be almost exclusively locked to A Link to the Past. If they get a Varia and a speed booster, you might see some Norfair checks a little bit later.
And Lumberjack is just 3 bombs.
Well, that's kind of putting a damper on your Aga required.
Looks
that's
like
not saying it's not required, but they at least don't need the item from the Lumberjack location, which is blocked by Aghanim. Desert Palace was a normal crystal.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't one of our 5/6s. And for our first forest check, the mushroom has just a heart piece, probably skipping that. Next up is our Thieves' Hideout. That's going to get us some power bombs. Very, very nice. We are going to want to get at least 10, preferably 15, before we start doing anything in Super Metroid if we can.
So for those of you who have never seen this is a randomizer mashup between both Super Metroid and A Link to the Past, and there are 4 static locations in each game that allow our runners to switch between the 2 games. The goal is to beat both Ganon and Mother Brain. It doesn't matter which order you defeat them, you just have to defeat both. And to unlock Ganon and Mother Brain, you still have to do their vanilla requirements, which is getting 7 crystals in A Link to the Past and beating the 4 Super Metroid main bosses.
And here we are doing our 5 checks down in Blind's hut. We've got a heart. We've got some bombs. Useful, but now we're looking for... Ooh, there's Wave Beam. And a red rupee. Our last check is going to be in the back, and it is...
The mirror.
Oh, it is the mirror. You are a few seconds ahead of me, and that is awesome. That is a really good find early on. Mostly because even if we can't get into the Dark World, it does help us in doing dungeon bits.
Hatch did get a slight advantage because he got another set of tree pulls that gave him 4 bombs. So it allowed him to check out Blind's hut without any risks, while azder did not get the bombs from the tree pull and had to go buy bombs. So his Kakariko is going to be slightly less efficient than Hatch's.
And azder is checking the well. I missed the first check, but it looks like just heart piece, energy tank. Oh, nice. There's our space jump.
Space jump for Hatch.
So we have a can fly. That doesn't immediately open anything without morph ball or speed booster, but it gets us close.
Speaking of morph ball,
oh, and there we go.
That is a premium buy from the bottle vendor. No life lessons from the bottle vendor today. Also, no Super Metroid trolling. Early morph ball leads to some potentially interesting routing decisions because our runners are no longer basically stuck in a Link to the Past until they find it. It's a super accessible location. Azder might not have enough money for the bottle vendor, though, because he had to spend 50 rupees to buy bombs. So unless he spends a little bit of time farming rupees, he may end up missing that morph ball.
I assume he's going to check blinds, and if he doesn't get the money, then he's going to go do the well farm. There's one thing I want to comment on about this, though. Having both Morph Ball and Space Jump early can be a bit of a rabbit hole because it doesn't take a whole lot of items to unlock basically all of Super Metroid. And if our progression is not heavy in Super Metroid, you could end up seeing a runner go very deep, do a lot of unnecessary checks in Super Metroid, and if it's not there and happens to be Link to the Past, then the runner who stays in Link to the Past is going to end up doing a higher quality of check versus the quantity you're going to get over in Super Metroid. So it kind of blows it open a little bit.
And then there's the save and quit by azder without even checking Library or Maze Game, which had nothing of consequence. But it also means azder left Kakariko without the Morph Ball.
That is going to be a little rough, and also isolating those checks is going to be a little bit interesting here.
Have to see what azder gets from the dam checks, and then I would assume the south. I don't know what the proper term for it is. South Shore.
South Shore. Yeah, we generally call it South Shore. So this is the dam, and then you go Mini Moldorm, and then you have Ice Rod Cave, and that's the South Shore runs, and then you've got the desert going over where Agina is.
Okay, and we have a rusty glove in the bottom of the dam.
Well, that is actually going to be very nice, and maybe we find something that pushes azder back towards Kakariko, or like I was saying, it might end up being that the Morph Ball and Space Jump could be a red herring in this situation. And then we're getting our bombs off the tree, our mini Moldorms. Not being too bad.
It's an interesting play by Hatch here, deciding to do the front of Hyrule Castle Escape with no weapon but bombs.
I kind of agree. I think that since there was no weapon, it might have been a better idea to do the South Shore checks because you get a lot of chances to get the weapon. And it's not really a loss in time to save and quit and go back. And also, we do have Titan Smiths out of Mini Moldorm. So we have Dark World access now. And we have Super Metroid access. So we basically have both games are just blown open at this point.
Not quite Dark World access because we're still missing the
no Moon Pearl, you're right.
Orb, so we don't have the Moon Pearl yet. They can enter the Dark World, sure, but there's
but they
not
can't
really
do a
anything they're
whole
going to be able
just
to do
a couple of bunny checks.
azder is caught between a whole bunch of crabs that do 2 hearts worth of damage.
Ooh,
but
that is rough.
But showing off his skill, able to definitely dodge all of them.
I do have to say, Hatch has great handle on these bomb strats, though. It's kind of fun watching him go through here with just the bombs.
Certainly isn't the first time that he's gone down the front of Escape with bombs only.
So it looks like we're going to get the back of Escape here, so that's going to be fun. Yes, Mir does work in Sanctuary. No, Mir is actually considered part of the dungeon, I believe.
So... Oh! Hatch's play paying off with the first sword.
So is azder's. Azder just found Hookshot.
This is looking to be one of those... it's way too early to call it free, but the game is being very, very generous for our runners, because Azder looks to be on his way to Death Mountain. And Hatch is going through doing something out of logic. He is, as well as Azder here in a minute, he is exploring a dark room, trying to check the one treasure chest named Dark Cross.
Now, the thing is, I believe, let's see, where did we find items? Didn't we find between all of the checks we've seen, except Dark Cross, we found the item, so this should be nothing, right?
Oh, that had missiles.
Oh, never mind, I was wrong. Missiles. Sweet.
Azder is attempting Death Mountain access in the dark, and he was successful. Found the old man.
Excellent. And then we see Hatch is going to go ahead and do the South Shore, which means probably also going to end up doing back escape. Old man gave us a reserve tank.
So, rescuing the old man, it is out of logic, but it does give Azder a warp point, so if he saves and quits in A Link to the Past, he will be able to immediately return to the mountain, which is a super nice time save.
See, Azder's going to go ahead and check the back of Croc. Also did the high jump check, got a shield. There's Hatch picking up their gloves. Oh, are we going to get an Agina? Ah, we're going to get an Agina check.
It's often not a good time to check where Hatch is headed right now, so it's just, this is kind of an outest, just get it out of the way so you don't have to worry about a check. He's also going to check the desert ledge and at least peek to see what items there, just in case he ends up with a book.
Got a ruby on the ledge. Did you see what was on Spectacle Rock Cave? Because I did not. Looks like it was something worth getting, though, so we're going to see that in a second. Oh, chat's telling me it was Red Cane.
Yeah, that's probably worth getting. It's not always required, but it's required in probably 99% of seeds.
It actually will definitely be required here because we know that 2 of our pendants are in Light World, so either Misery Mire or Turtle Rock will be a crystal, possibly both. So we will be requiring that Red Cane.
That's an
and
excellent
it's also
point.
helpful for 2 of our biggest skips, being Diver Down and Icebreaker. And Aga got the cave. I say Agina, and Aga is unfortunately not going to be necessary unless Aga is specifically hiding the Moon Pearl on Pyramid.
I guess there's a slight chance it could be blocking both Flippers and Hammer.
We can't use Hammer without Moon Pearl, though, so that's why I was saying if Moon Pearl happens to be on the Pyramid, that's the only way that Aga is going to be required at this point, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's the only way that it'll be required. Meanwhile, we're getting Paradox Cave also.
And Hatch decides to skip the South Shore, and he's making his first foray into Super Metroid.
That is an interesting choice. I'm wondering what would cause Hatch to go back and check for those Titans mitts sometime soon.
I don't think it'll be skipped for too long, if only because it is a fairly dense amount of checks. This is just a calculated play. He's got more fall. He's got only 5 power bombs. Is a little bit annoying considering he doesn't have normal bombs. But
we might be getting some Super Bunny action going on here, and checking the bomb trees up.
So what we're seeing on azder's screen is he's a bunny. So he can't really do anything. He's not even supposed to be able to open up chests. But falling down a pit will put his bunny form in a state to where he can open up these 2 checks.
Unfortunately, nothing.
A fair amount of nothing. Looks like going to peak Turtle Rock.
Meanwhile, Hatch is jumping up to go check out the power bombs up here.
There's a question on whether Super Bunny is logical. Super Bunny is not logical. In fact, everything azder has gotten on Death Mountain is out of logic because he needs either a lamp or the flute in order to make the mountain checks in logic, or the morph ball, because morph ball would allow him access to Death Mountain as well.
I think it's kind of important to note here that we are running SMZ. SMZ3 has 2 different logical rule sets. We have normal logic and hard logic. The big difference between normal logic and hard logic is that hard logic does put in some of the skips and tricks in Super Metroid, but neither normal logic nor hard logic includes any actual what we consider to be glitches or skips in Link to the Past. So those are purely things that you do because they're going to give you an advantage.
So based on our item knowledge, everything that's been on Death Mountain, except the old man, is in our kind of known logic since Morph Ball is readily accessible. But the way azder did it, it's out of logic for him at the moment.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, both of our runners did things that were out of logic. Pantsu was asking where the Morph Ball was. Morph Ball is on the bottle vendor, and azder did not have enough money because azder had to go buy bombs, whereas Hatch got paid off pretty big in bombs and money drops, so was able to kind of just like clear out Kakariko. So we're seeing azder go through and do the front of escape. Meanwhile, Hatch is going through and just kind of doing those Super Metroid checks. We haven't really found anything yet, though.
It's a little...
Go ahead.
There's so many... I was going to say that his routing was a little bit odd from what I would have expected. A lot of runners will go through what they call the Bryn loop first, which is start with going through green Bryn Star in the pink into...
if I recall, though, Hatch only had 5 power bombs coming in. I think, didn't he pick up a power bomb pack here in Super Metroid?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so trying to Bryn loop on only 5 means that you're going to end up doing a whole lot of farming. 10 is about the minimum that you really want to go through there with, and 15 is kind of the comfortable number.
And this routing does make sense because I assume he's going to go ahead and do Kraid, but this will also, I expect him to do the old man on Death Mountain backwards in order to get that war point, but he'll do the Death Mountain checks that azder's already done.
And azder's going to go ahead and do that Dark Cross check as well. Probably going to be a little upset to find the missiles, but at the very least we'll have the information and know that they won't have to go back for that. So it's, you know, keeps you from isolating something and then worrying about it later.
So my feed lagged out for a second, but I assume that X-ray was nothing of consequence.
No, X-ray was just bombs.
Nobody wants to pick up their blueberries.
No, absolutely not. Especially not when you're really trying to find some progression to get you ahead here. I do find it really interesting how, you know, we've got these. So in Super Metroid or in SMZ3, we generally have you know, what we call the kind of the tier 0s and the tier 1 checks, and both runners skipped out halfway through a high density or a section of their kind of tier 0 checks. Now, azder had a really good reason to skip, not having all of the resources necessary. But Hatch, I really don't understand why Hatch skipped out on Mini Moldorm.
Not to mention that we're finally getting 20 minutes is a little bit late for Sasha's Closet here with 3 easy items. I might also see an Eastern Palace check because azder is beginning to run out of checks.
Yeah, I was gonna say azder is. Oh, we got the silver arrows. azder is just really looking for one of the 2 spheres that open the game up just a bunch. Meanwhile, Hatch checked Spazer, found nothing, and is going to go ahead and do exactly what she thought, and is going to head for Crate. Yeah, no hype cave until we get Dark World access rock solid, which we need the Moon Pearl for, and the hammer to get easy hype cave access. More power bombs.
Well, I guarantee that if Hatch gets, or if either of our runners honestly gets a Moon Pearl and Mitts, that they'll probably be doing the Village Outcast checks into probably Hype Cave.
Okay, and we're going to see another sequence break here probably if azder ends up not finding the 2 items in the early checks. Probably going to see another sequence break of a dark room. Hopefully we get to see the Kraid quick kill or quicker kill. We just don't want to see Kraid stand up.
We are getting our first boss.
Looks like we're going to get Kraid standing.
It's not too bad if you miss the quick kill on Kraid. It takes, I believe, the equivalent damage of 1 missile and 3 super missiles. But if you time it right, you can get all 4 shots in.
And then just super missiles behind Hatch. Meanwhile, azder has located the first item in Eastern, and it was Blue Mail. And yeah, just one quick thing, just for anybody coming in, this is a randomizer, and as Era mentioned earlier, what we do in this is we take all of the items from Super Metroid and from Link to the Past, and we shuffle them up between both of the games according to logical rules that were written mostly by Total, and then allow you to jump back and forth between the games in specific points. Looking for the items, and you might find your progression for Link to the Past in Super Metroid. You might find, for instance, we found Morph Ball on the bottle vendor, so it's going to be really interesting.
Well, Eastern may be a pendant, but at least the item locations were nice, even if there was really nothing of consequence there. So there are Map and Compass are in the vanilla big key chest and Armos Knights.
Yeah, and then of course we have the green pendant, meaning an extra item in there, should we get to the point where we're going to need to kind of try to go for that. Yeah, just for the people that are saying it, azder skipped because he found all the items except the green pendant, but with no bow, can't get the green pendant. So, oh, that is, by the way, another difference in SMZ3 compared to if you're watching just Link to the Past randomizers. In SMZ3, we do not have progressive bows. So for instance, you'll notice azder has silver arrows. azder can't use those arrows until they find a bow.
And then also logic-wise, Fire Rod does not count as a fire source for dark rooms in places with a torch. So any dark room does require lamp in SMZ3, where straight LTTPR just if there's a lightable torch in the room, fire rod does work as a light source.
And then we got the high jump checks. Once again, nothing.
Azder looks to be farming rupees for a Zora play. As far as I know, he doesn't have very many checks left for a potential progression location. So,
Grove is asking, is this faster than setting up a hula hand? Honestly, I don't really know. I think the answer is no, but sometimes you just kind of get into muscle memory and go for what you've got. So it's not that it's faster, but I think that the difference is going and doing the hula hand and then coming back around to another farming spot. This ends up being faster if you have to do both, which is kind of the case here for azder. And the reason azder is doing this is because we're probably going to see azder end up going and doing a fake flipper check because King Zora is in logic. But by doing the fake flipper, we can also get an additional 3 checks, technically 4 by being able to at least look at the ledge, that aren't in logic, but that you can route in to kind of save yourself some time.
So one thing that worries me for azder is that he only farmed up to 500 rupees. So I don't know whether this is he forgot bottle vendor or just didn't think about farming up for him too.
And there's Hatch getting the news about that cane of Samaria, azder picking up the cane. So this is going to be very interesting. I don't assume that either runner has actually forgotten about the checks that they passed out from, our red pendant is Misery Mire, by the way, and then a 5-6 on Swamp and Ice Palace. But as I was saying, I don't think either runner is going to forget about the checks that they skipped over, as we see azder is going back to Bottle Vendor now. But it will be really interesting if that does become kind of one of those kind of, oops, I accidentally, forgot about it kind of situation.
And I would be very surprised if he doesn't immediately reset the Super Metroid after getting this morph ball.
Oh, look at that. And you can see
the little smile on his face.
Meanwhile, Hatch is going to go ahead and do Hera. We do have the hook shot. I believe you can do Hera pot with just hook shot. I think there's a setup for that, isn't there? Or do you need boots for sure?
There's multiple setups. I believe there's a bomb setup as well. I don't know many of the Hera pot setups.
Yeah, me neither, but Necrazero, sorry about that, messed up the name, is saying that, yeah, hookshot and bomb, so he could have done a Hera pot there, but decided not to. Probably makes sense.
Also considering I think you need more than one bomb to set up the bomb approach. And Hatch is down to the 1.
Oh yeah, I did not notice that. And you were correct, azder jumped straight over to Super Metroid. Now, we know that none of the progression is in any of the checks that are available here, but it's still worth it to come and get those checks knocked out of the way.
For azder or for Hatch?
For azder.
Because azder may end up going Bryn Loop.
Oh, that is a good point. Azder does have those. And also Gauntlet, I forgot about that. Hatch did not do Gauntlet, Hatch did not do Bryn Loop. So we actually have a number of checks here that azder can go. But yeah, azder is going to Wreck Ship, which is in logic because of Space Jump.
So a lot more route divergence here.
And we saw a Boomerang.
Hatch is, of course, checking a lot of the stuff that azder did a little bit earlier.
So azder isn't quite, I believe, at the full low percent levels for Wreck Ship, but cutting it pretty close here.
I don't know if wreck ship actually has a health requirement.
It does not. I know it doesn't. I was just saying that in general, the amount of resources azder has are maybe a little bit lower than especially somebody like me would be comfortable with going in here.
Or me.
And Tracy is putting me in my place about my lack of Super Metroid low percent knowledge. Oh, we found the boot. So, okay, wreck ship is the play for at least possible progression. It depends on if those lock anything in Desert Palace.
Those also open up the Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb. But in general, Pegasus boots are a super nice item to have because you go much, much faster in A Link to the Past, and getting them early is a definite boon.
So here's our Fantoon fight. So the interesting thing about wreck ship is that for SMZ3 runners, there are a group of runners, or I should say a class of runners, whatever, that really considers wreck ship to be kind of a pendant dungeon and hates to do it unless they absolutely have to. But I've been noticing in a lot of the runs that I've seen in this tournament, people have been heading to wreck ship super early, just I guess to get it out of the way. So they can kind of get on with their life. That was an incredibly fast Fantoon.
That was very, very nicely done, and much better than I could ever do it. Hatch finally headed the mini Moldorm.
And there we go. So we're going to see Hatch pick up the Titan's Mitts. Not that it helps us with much yet, but it'll be good to have.
Don't remember if there's anything else important down here.
I don't recall there being just, a little bit more ammunition and such.
More ammunition, more health.
But we do get those Titan Mitts. They are going to be needed because Ice Palace is a requirement.
As well as
Turtle Rock.
And you always need it to reach Ganon's tower.
True.
So I believe Hatch is basically running out of A Link to the Past checks, except maybe Zora. So
I was going to say, he's got 417 rupees. He might try to route in the Zora checks and do the fake flipper stuff.
I would expect him to probably reset back to Super Metroid and either do Wreck Ship or Bryn Loop after doing the Ice Rod check. Doing Zora just feels kind of bad when you don't have flippers or even Moon Pearl to go with it, just so you can do the item density. And Hatch is going to prove me wrong by farming up some rupees in a little bit less efficient spot than where we saw azder, but
he also doesn't need his mint. I did not see what was up in that room, but azder definitely didn't want it.
I think it was a piece of heart out of the corner of my eye, but that was a real quick reset.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a heart piece. Okay, good. Yeah, I got a little bit of lag on my end watching that one, and I missed what the item was.
That was a super efficient attic for wreck ship.
And for those who haven't seen it before, what Hatch is doing here is the fake flipper. If you transition screens right as you're hitting the water, you don't get the splash effect. And if you don't get the splash effect, the game just considers that you must have the item that allows you to be swimming. So you swim.
going ahead and getting the hobo check out of the way with this. Azder does find a master sword.
Helpful. We're gonna need that. And the hobo has some super missiles. So we found some good quality of life items so far up in Wrecked Ship, but we haven't really found any compelling progression yet.
Unless the
never mind. There's the Moon Pearl. Okay, so Wrecked Ship is the play. That is insane.
I was about to say,
wow.
Unless the remaining 2 swords are in Ganon's tower, but yeah, that'll do.
Okay, let's see how long it takes Hatch to go to Wrecked Ship. Already skipped Bryn, so hopefully, yeah. I have reverse comm curse. I roll bad seeds, but I give good luck on comms because I always end up being proven wrong on my choices. So just bomb capacity on Zora Ledge.
Terizo, that's not how you go bowling. You're not supposed to go walking in the lane. Sir.
I want to start breaking out the Big Lebowski quotes here. Just scream over the line.
So still 2 more checks in Wrecked Ship. Well, technically 3, but one of them requires speed booster, but I'm sure Azder will peek it to see if it's a required item.
And we just get a reserve tank off of Zora. So we're gonna get the saving quit, and yeah, Hatch is kind of doing the head scratch there. You can tell that they're contemplating, doesn't know where to go. Okay, just missiles, that's good, we don't have to worry about that.
Hatch making the Sasha's Closet, and then I would assume Eastern play at this point.
And there's the flute. Yeah, okay. Wrecked Ship is 100% our gatekeeper. This is an insanely stacked ship.
So flute isn't necessarily required, but that's just another really good movement item. And if something like Varia is in Mire Shed or something like that, then it'd be 100% required.
Well, the nice thing about it is it gives us a way of getting around to Upper North or Lower Norfair and kind of hitting the back to check out Gold Teresa.
And to clarify, required logically. Azder's good enough to do a lot of things in Super Metroid out of logic, but
looks like Hatch is going to go ahead and do our Gauntlet and Bryn loop probably.
Not unsurprising and not a bad play.
See, so the difference, by the way, to everybody, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but the difference in Hatch doing this now versus when Hatch first came into Super Metroid was Hatch only had 5 power bombs, and that is incredibly tight to try to get through Gauntlet and the Bryn loop, and it's going to require a lot of farming. So Hatch basically skipped out on that, did a bunch of other checks that, you know, they're probably going to need to do at some point, so they didn't waste their time. And, you know, came back after they had sufficient material to make this a much easier run.
And 5 power bombs isn't enough to go through Gauntlet in general, I don't believe. I think you actually do need the 10, because you end up soft-locking with just 5.
Yeah, correct. And nothing in the back of Gauntlet. So Gauntlet was a waste here, but because Hatch didn't do Bryn loop, it didn't cost much extra for Hatch to go ahead and do the Gauntlet into Terminator into Bryn loop. So it was just an efficient routing choice there.
As they're doing a few of the checks Hatch has already done, getting our X-ray check. It's just the bombs. Specifically linked to the past bombs and not morph ball bombs. Luckily for our runners, they have space jumps, so morph ball bombs doesn't become their can fly.
Correct. That is very nice, and that was a really nice mock ball.
Normally, to check the rooms the hatch is right now, you would need a speed booster. But by doing a technique called the mock ball, you gain enough speed in morph ball form to get under the closing gates.
Also, for anybody interested, we've discussed logic quite a few times. If you're interested in checking out what the logical requirements are for everything in the SMZ3, you can actually go to samus.link/logic and kind of look through everything that's required to get into any room or any check in the game.
So both of our runners are good enough that they'll do a lot of stuff or some stuff out of logic in order for efficiency's sake. But they'll keep the logic a little bit in the back of their mind in case they're looking for something specific it may give them a hint as to where to look for it.
And Apic Mansion was asking about the fake flippers. So basically, the way that the Link to the Past checks to see if you can swim, the check is done when Link enters the water and causes the splash animation. When the splash hits, it checks to see if you have the flippers. So if you find a way to cause the splash to not happen, then the game just never checks to see if you have the flippers and assumes that you've got them since you're in the water. So a couple of ways that you can cause that to happen is by transitioning your screen right as you jump into the water, or you can do something believe they call the ancilla deletion, which is where you put enough other objects on the screen that it doesn't have the memory free to actually create the splash, and that will do it. And then when we get into Swamp Palace, you'll probably see Diver Down or a few of the other ones that are also kind of modified versions of that kind of skipping the splash with using bombs or the Cane of Samaria. And we'll go over those when we get to that part. Meanwhile, Pink Bryn checks.
Azder successfully gets the quick kill on Kraid. Still haven't really seen anything in Bryn yet. And unless we find a speed booster, we're going to Orphan. Oh, there's an ether. Which was required for Turtle Rock.
So that is nice. Not something that Azder's going to miss unless decides just to do the Bryn skip, but I don't think that's really so much of a thing anymore.
And Hatch making sure Spore Spawn lives another day by skipping him entirely for a heart piece.
Poor Spore Spawn never gets his time in the sun. Okay, we're going to see the Wave Gate skip here.
No, we aren't, because we have Wave Beam.
Oh, do we? Oh, that's right. I forgot. We picked up Wave Beam like way earlier in Blind Tide. Although, you know, funny enough, we actually, you would be surprised how many times runners, just from muscle memory, will have Wave Beam and still do the Wave Gate glitch.
It's not very often you do this check with Wave Beam, I find. There is a skip you can do with a super missile and a setup at the door that would allow you to get past that gate without Wave Beam. That a lot of runners will do on their first check through Bryn. But we have Wave Beam this time for once.
And just some bombs.
Azder putting that Morph Ball to good use, not Morph Ball, Moon Pearl to good use, and we'll be checking Hookshot Cave. And Hatch is checking Retro Bryn, which, you know, Morph Ball Pedestal has something related to the Morph Ball on it for once. In the Spring Ball, which allows Hatch will now be able to perform a standard jump while in Morph Ball form.
And Azder, meanwhile, is taking out Hookshot Cave, finds Flippers.
So Azder is... We'll see if he does the entirety of Tower of Hera or just the first couple checks. With boots and hookshot, it wouldn't surprise me to see a Hera pot. Nope, just gonna climb the tower the normal way. Which is completely fine. It's not a very significant time difference. It's just a couple more checks for Hatch and Retro Bryn. We'll see if he decides to check the Shaft Super's location. He can't collect the item, but he can at least peek it. Got our first link to the past boss in Moldor. Weak spots the tail, don't get knocked off.
Now this is just a pin. No, this is a crystal.
This is pendant, I think.
Oh, is it pendant? Is desert the crystal? Oh yeah, it is blue pendant. Okay.
It also means I believe there's an item in the basement.
Yes, which no fire source means we're gonna have to find either that fire rod or the lantern. Of course, technically, well, we could have gotten here from Super Metroid, so Hera is not logically locked.
The Hera's in logic, so Hatch checked the first floor of Hera, but only got the 20 rupees, but decided not to climb it. Got a King's Tomb check into bomb capacity. Hatch refilling at the ship. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see him headed towards wreck ship.
Yeah, so far wreck ship is pretty much everything, and thankfully Hatch is heading that direction, so it's gonna close up the race a little, catch things up some. Granted, this early on, I mean, there really is not a huge amount of difference between the two runners right now.
I'd say Azder probably has a little bit of a lead at the moment, but depending on if there's that one trolley item, Hatch is most definitely not out of it yet. Hatch has the Bryn loop, and Azder's done basically wreck ship.
Although Azder is going to go ahead and get that duck active, so we might see maybe the Meyer checks. I'm not entirely sure where we're going to go from here.
It looks like we're going to Village of Outcasts. We'll see
sense.
if we get the early Skullwards check.
Looks like we're heading straight to Thieves Town. I guess I should say Dark Kakariko, the checks in Dark Kakariko, and then Thieves Town, but, you know.
See if he hops into Village of Outcasts without the hammer, and it looks like it's a no for the at least immediate moment. You can complete Thieves Town without the hammer, but you might orphan an item if you don't take the hammer in the Thieves Town. It's time for Hatch to dance with Fantoon.
Really nice Doppler there. Ooh, and Bombos. Now, we don't know if Bombos is going to be needed, but it might be our Ice Palace access.
Oh, that's true. I was thinking, it's like, well, hopefully our runners don't need to go into Mire, but...
This could be one of those Fire Rod locked behind Bombos seeds.
I do forget, was it a randomizer change that allowed Bombos to melt the enemies in Ice Palace, or could it always do that?
No, I believe that's vanilla.
It's been a
And
long
there
time
is
since I
Quake.
played Vanilla A Link to the Past. Nice fan tune by Hatch.
And yeah, Chad is agreeing. It does work in vanilla as well.
Azder deciding to not go in the basement of Thieves Town. I don't think he found really anything in the front board.
There
Did he
wasn't
find
really
both
much.
map and compass?
Found the big key. Found one of the medallions. I believe. Yeah, found 2 items in the front, didn't he? I'm getting a little bit of lag on my side, so some of the checks I'm missing as it kind of glitches out some, but I thought he found 2 items there.
Oh, big key, 2 medallions, small key. Okay.
No, one of the medallions was in C-Shape House, I thought.
Right.
We're doing the Smith check. Meanwhile, Hatch is going to realize that Wreck Ship was the play all along.
Well, luckily he's going to save here first, because it certainly wasn't at the E-tank he's about to go check.
That is true. So I think part of the reason why azder isn't going to do the rest of Thieves Town is probably hoping to find the hammer so that he can just kind of do the whole thing at once.
Right. And it's not a bad play at all. It doesn't take very long to re-enter Thieves and get to where you need to go if you don't find the hammer, but you need some easy checks.
And then here's K45.
Dragging the purple chest along. Probably check K45. We'll check Old Stumpy. We'll check Hype Cave. And go from there.
So the other nice thing about azder's routing with this is that since azder didn't do any of the front of Skull Woods checks, this is basically going to give a nice routing to come back to Skull Woods and do the rest of Thieves Town and then just transition straight over into Skull Woods after that point. If, for instance, we find a fire rod or, like I said earlier, find the hammer and then we just kind of try to route it all together.
And it's looking like that azder left the purple chest, but I believe it's still being counted as a follower for the very moment And so if he talks to the thief quick enough after transitioning, he gets the item out of the purple chest, which is a very vanilla bottle.
The nice thing about that bottle is that is our first bottle. Put Sick Kid in Logic. Kapow is asking about that. So basically what it is if you leave the chest behind, you can then transition over into the light world, and you have a brief window there when you transition into the light world where it still thinks the chest is with you, and you can go ahead and get the chest opened up, even though it's not actually behind you.
Did Aster get a hammer that we didn't mark? Because this is a this is an interesting play he's making.
I think Azder's just going to go ahead and check the first chest here in Swamp and Hope, because I do not recall him getting a hammer. And no, he does not have a hammer.
Just making sure, because this is a very interesting check. And if the hammer or something is required here, then it is a genius check.
Meanwhile, Hatch, we're just seeing pick up all of the same checks that Azder already did.
It's a big key.
And we might see Hype Cave.
And that was a quicker check than I had anticipated. So
Chad did point something out that Azder was making a defensive play. Possibly the reason is because of that morph ball on Bottle Vendor. Azder might feel a little bit behind, although this is early in the race. So, oh, nice gravity suit. So it's not likely that he feels too far behind, but feels like maybe doing a couple of these on the way checks is probably going to be worth it.
All right, so with Hype Cave having both gravity suit and grapple beam, that means the logic is trying to lead us to Shack Tool. Obviously.
You're hoping. We don't have high jump boots yet, so we actually don't have Shack Tool and Logic.
We do have Shack Tool and Logic because we have Space Jump.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Space Jump. Yes, I was thinking high jump boots, but I forgot Space Jump. So yeah, actually we could. We can go Dark Shopping Mall into Meridia if we wanted to.
So I think this is pretty good routing by Azder. Getting Hobo check in. I don't know if we'll go check probably check. Go back in this portal, check Pyramid, go to Catfish, do the Zora checks.
Yep. So in this case, Azder actually has a really nice advantage of being able to go ahead and do all of the checks. Oh, he's not doing them though.
Going to Pod instead, like it was called out in chat. He did buy a red potion in one of the standard shops, and so probably setting up a potion glitch in Palace of Darkness.
Can you explain how that potion glitch works?
I know how to do it. It doesn't mean I know exactly how it works, but basically what you'll see is there is a room that, well, a couple of rooms that require the bow because the Guerrillas in there, you need the bow to normally destroy them in order to advance. But if you have a potion, if you the way the rooms are connected, if you scroll the screen in a specific way and use your potion at the appropriate time, you can scroll the screen where the Guerrillas are. You can scroll them off screen, which will count as full the room into thinking you killed them and open the door. And Azder's going to be showing that off very shortly.
Yep, and luckily not bow locked, so we have a couple of checks we can do before we would even have needed to do that. So it's possible bow could even be in here somewhere. And then as for why Azder didn't go ahead and do the Zora checks, I'm assuming Azder's probably going to try to route those in with Catfish, maybe? And there you go.
There it is. That's a much faster setup than I know. That was very quick. Probably
That
hoping
can
to find
also
a
be done
behavior.
without a potion, but it is a much harder glitch for trying to slide the mimics out of the room by getting them to move into the wall.
The glitch
Hatch
doesn't
trying to
pay
do
off with
Super Bunny Cave without being a bunny.
It's going to get the Mimic Cave into Hookshot Cave information. And then also Peak Turtle Rock. And Hatch can actually enter Turtle Rock with what he has. He just might not be able to go far into it without Fire Rod.
Correct. Although we will get Hatch probably doing the Hookshot Cave check, so Hatch will probably find his flipper soon as well. And yes, we have no hammer yet, word spoken. That's one of the items we're kind of really hoping to find.
As they're doing a few more dark rooms.
And there are the flippers for Hatch. The light on the chest open only happens if you pick up Metroid items, I thought. Or does it happen for everything now?
It happens for everything now. I believe it's a quality of life improvement in the latest update.
Ah, okay, excellent.
Azder with the hammer jump. We'll save him a key in order to sequence break this big chest.
Hatch going ahead and doing the King's Tomb.
So one more item.
Kapow, just so you know, the development for the SMZ3 and the Link to the Past rando are completely separate, even to the point now where I think they're not even programmed in the same language anymore. And we're fluting over to do the Meyer checks, it looks like. Which, the nice thing about this is that Meyer, this will also get us into the back door of Desert.
And with boots, well, no fire source yet, so you can't actually complete Desert.
But Desert, oh yeah, no, he doesn't need Desert, it's crystal. So he'll be able to do everything except for the Lanmolas in Desert.
I did not get a good look at the required medallion for Meyer.
I missed it as well.
Although Meyer is a pendant, so it would likely be a check of last resort.
Chad is saying it's Ether.
Ah, the double Ether seed.
Okay, here we go with the Desert checks. Meanwhile, Hatch is activating Flute.
2 potential items in Desert. Everything else is just keys or burritos or... what's the nickname for the compass?
I have no idea.
Because I've heard the compass called an appropriate food item, but I don't remember what it is.
Sick Kid just has bombs. And there's our bow. Nice.
Azder with that big smile is like, oh, I just got out of pod.
Oh, and it looks like Hatch is right on his heels. So, as I was saying earlier, it looked like Azder had a pretty okay lead, but, you know, for the most part, progression-wise, the runners have really come back to being about neck and neck. I'm a little confused why Hatch is not using mirror on any of these blocks. They did the same thing in Super Bunny Cave. Didn't use the mirror to get rid of the blocks.
It's a...
I mean, you were going to have to menu to it anyways, right?
I mean, part of it is just a... I don't know, maybe an experience thing?
We found hammer on checkerboard.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, so it looks like Rex shipped, Wrecked Ship and Mire were both the areas that we desperately needed, and Azder's about to pick up this hammer. I mean, this is amazing watching how close these two are right now. Oh no, Hatch is leaving without checking desert. So Hatch is going to come do the dark Kakariko checks and is going to have skipped out on that bow. I wonder when they're going to come around for it.
Probably when they get a fire source.
Oh, that is going to be interesting to see. I wonder if this is going to be one of those points where we're going to go, that was the big time difference. It looks like we're checking bumper ledge.
Probably bumper ledge and graveyard.
Gold Chorizo here has rupee and looks like missiles, so nothing needed there.
Did I miss a Varia someplace? Because Azder's not taking any damage here.
I don't know when he got Varia. I saw him get Gravity Suit.
Varia wasn't in Desert 2, was it?
I mean, everybody seems to have missed him getting it.
Because he would definitely be taking damage in these rooms if he didn't have Varia. So, when did he get Varia?
I guess it was in Desert and we all missed it.
It had to have been Desert, right?
Well, this is quite interesting.
I'm not a Super Metroid expert, but I'm pretty sure all of these rooms are heated. And, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
He doesn't have it. I think, is Azder confused too? I was pretty sure the
I'm very
randomizer changed it such that, you know,
yeah, gravity doesn't detect from the heated rooms anymore, so that Varia suit is still useful.
So we're both going crazy and not crazy. Congratulations, Azder, you have discovered a bug. We'll get total right on it.
I've not seen that happen in any of the races I've proctored. I mean, I literally watched people doing hell runs earlier. So unless the new version came out between yesterday and today, that's really interesting.
And it's interesting that he took off the gravity suit and he was taking damage again, but he put it back on and he had the heat protection again, which I remember being specifically removed from SMZ3.
He does
to make
not
Varia
have
more important.
Varia. He even checked it because he was probably also just as confused as we were. Meanwhile, Hatch is doing the back of Thieves Town. So we'll get to see. I don't think there. Oh no, there will be items back here, but we won't be able to get the big chest. Oh no, we have the hammer. That's right. Never mind. We'll full clear. We'll get to full clear of this. Sorry, I'm just so confused by this Varia suit thing. It's got me completely flustered.
But yeah, it looks like just Azder was just autopiloting like Lower Norfair. It's like, oh, I could do everything in Lower Norfair. I'm not taking any heat damage. And then it just kind of dawned on him. It's like, wait, I don't have Varia. So it's something we'll definitely have to ask him about it if we have time for an interview after the race.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Because that is definitely interesting. I mean, we all kind of had a Mandela effect moment there, where we're all like, "Wait a second, what's going on?"
Well, they're both in Thieves Town now. We did find some missiles where we open up the floor to let the light in, because Blind's room is too dark.
You know, I always wondered about that. It's Blind. Why is Blind affected by light? I mean, Blind can't see the light. So what's going on there exactly?
I don't think it was actually ever stated that Blind was, well, blind. It was stated that he was sensitive to light, but Blind was just kind of his name.
Yeah, Gravity Suit was in Hype Cave along with the grapple beam.
That's a speed booster in the big chest.
That could be interesting.
Good thing azder saved us, indeed.
And yes, 8-Bit Mansion, the items are the same for both runners in the seed. Aga, I believe, is also the same for both runners. There's only a few things that can be randomized between, such as like Phantoon patterns and such.
I've got a blind fight for Hatch. Generally pretty easy, as long as you have basically a sword and enough health. There's a lot of weapons that can damage Blind. The weapon doesn't matter for damage. It always takes 9 hits, no matter what weapon you're using.
Including things like Cane of Burnout.
Which, while laggy, leads to a free fight. Hatch doing the Village of Outcast checks that azder did earlier. Probably see, we'll see hammer pegs, which you didn't see earlier. Got a blind fight coming up for azder. This should be really simple. Ignore Blind's puns. They're terrible.
They're both terrible and beautiful at the same time.
No. Terrible. There's no such thing as a good pun.
Actually, I agree with you on that. That's my my hot take. Puns all are terrible. And chat disagrees with us completely.
You may take up all complaints with @ToTesOlive and not error. I'm sorry. Forgive me. We get a mushroom earlier? Hatch appears to be setting up the fake powder. We did get a mushroom earlier. Don't ask me to explain how fake powder works, but it involves the Cane of Samaria running out of magic and the mushroom.
So a quick word for people that are like asking about who's in the lead. Really, technically, azder, you could say, is a little bit in the lead, only because azder dipped into desert and found the bow. But as that bow has not actually given us an advantage yet, nobody is really in the lead here. Hatch is doing some checks that azder has already done, so azder is a little ahead check-wise. But in an SMZ3 run, this can easily flip around by doing something that we effectively call the ice rod hunt. Not necessarily that we'll be hunting for ice rod, but we might be hunting for some go mode item that could be literally anywhere. And when that happens, what you'll see is it really comes down to the runner that finds it first, and it can easily catch these races up, or sometimes flip them completely around.
I would say that azder has done more item location checks and has more accessible to him, especially since he has gravity and Hatch doesn't, as well as bow. But Hatch isn't out of this by any stretch. And Hatch will most certainly be getting this gravity suit very soon, because Grav suit was in Hype Cave, and Hatch is likely on his way there very, very soon.
And welcome to SpeedGaming Portuguese for this SMZ3 run. Yeah, so people are pointing out something really good. We have not found Fire Rod, we have not found Ice Rod. And the reason why we do call that like go mode search item Ice Rod is because Ice Rod is only progression in exactly one place, and that's killing specifically Trinex in Turtle Rock. And there's our magic powder for azder. So the ice rod can be pretty much anywhere except Ganon's Tower. It can even be sitting in Turtle Rock itself. So it gets really difficult to kind of find those things.
So ice rod somewhat disproportionately ends up being the item needed for go mode in a lot of cases.
Also, real quick, another thing, the extreme, that is the vanilla definition of gravity suit. In SMZ3, in order to make sure that Varia suit was not completely useless if you find gravity, they have changed the way that gravity suit and Varia suit work, and Varia suit takes on the environmental effects that gravity has in vanilla.
Well, I guess more specifically, the heat check was removed from gravity. Oh, that's a plasma beam.
Nice quality of life. If we find charge beam, that's going to take away the need to worry about ammo.
So, if the heat reduction was removed from gravity suit, except for azder in this one seed, and maybe.
Do you recall where ether was? Chat was asking.
It's in, I believe, the charge beam location in Bryn.
Pink Bryn. Okay, yeah.
It's close to that location. I don't know if it's exactly charge beam, but it's close.
So as I said, oh yeah, that's right, because I remember commenting that that could be a potential issue if azder is in the camp of doing Bryn skips. And honestly, azder has found enough progression items that, I mean, it's feasible that azder might be hoping that this is one of the fabled Bryn skip seeds, which of course we know it's not, but you know. Granted, last locationing ether is not that big a deal since all it does is locks out Turtle Rock. So, and since typically you get a lot of full clears of Super Metroid, I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem.
So we've got some more route divergence because Hatch is in Swamp Palace with a hammer.
And can full clear it now because we have both hammer and hookshot.
Yes, sir. So we have a sandpit reset. Wasn't anything good in the left sandpit, or at least worth, well, keeping. Be interested to see if azder makes the shack tool check while checking the right sandpit.
That would be fun. Although I do have to say that even if there was something worth keeping in the left sandpit, it would probably be a save scummit just to come back for it afterwards so you can check both sandpits.
And if we're getting a shack tool check, it won't be till later. As azder nopes out of right sand pit.
Azder not doing the shack tool check kind of makes me think that Azder feels ahead.
I don't know if it just kind of depends on the kind of runner you are. Because if you feel ahead, you might want to check everything just because you don't want to be that. You don't want to get caught by because you didn't check the one weird location.
I'm hoping we get to see the diver down here. We've got Kane of Samaria, so it's probably going to happen.
I'm not sure if Hatch actually knows Diver Down.
Oh, actually, you know, I just realized Hatch already went and grabbed the item, so we're not going to see Diver Down.
And there's a nice quality of life item for Azder. And the high jump boots.
Good with Speed Booster, since if I remember it, doesn't Speed Booster actually reduce your jump height while it's active if you don't have high jump?
Not always, but it depends on basically how much of a running start you get. Like if you're just holding the run button and jump immediately, yes, it lowers your jump height and not raises it. But if you gotta get a full running start, then you'll jump higher even without a high jump.
So what do you think we're going to do here? Are we going for the grapple kill? Ooh, hey, there's our Temper Sword. Are we going to go for the grapple kill or ammo kill with Speed Booster on Dragon?
Probably ammo kill with Speed Booster.
Meanwhile, Hatch finds the map.
I'm pretty sure Azder knows that strat, so you might see grapple as a backup in case the initial setup fails, but I expect Speed Booster.
Unfortunately, Swamp is not turning out to be of much value yet.
It looks like we're getting a little bit of both, because we got a Speed Booster hit, and it looks like we're going to set up for the fast grapple.
That was a very nice fast grapple.
And understandable why you wouldn't want to go for the full grapple, because without Varia, the electric hurts very, very badly.
Okay, there we go. I did just do, so chat was asking to do a refresh on the Com restream. It is getting some weird lag, so, what's up with that? I just did do a refresh on it. Hopefully it'll all catch up. Okay, we found some more missiles in Swamp. And did you happen to catch what was behind Dragon?
I believe it was 5 bomb capacity.
Okay, and it looks like Azder's going to go ahead and get on out into the Dark Shopping Mall.
So the only things left in Meridia to check are Shack Tool and Plasma Beam.
Huh, still not going for the Zora checks. Is this a ice palace with no fire source? I mean, we have bombos, so we can open up the front door. And I guess, yeah, we can do all of it, can't we?
With this.
Yeah, because we have hammer, we have bombos, and we have ice rods, so we can do the icebreaker.
Kane of Samaria, you mean, right? You said.
Oh yeah, I meant Kane of Samaria. Sorry.
Now, Bombos without half magic does take up a lot of magic powers, so I don't think Azder has a magic refill, so magic might be an issue.
We only have to use it 2 more times, don't we? To get all the checks?
It might depend on if the Icebreaker gets done first try.
Oh,
Icebreaker's not
the pain is
super
from
hard,
Arya.
but it's not trivial either. But it looks like we might be getting a bomb jump play instead.
And it looks like we're getting a mushroom check.
Now we're just manipulating the switch.
Thin air. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Polar Bear. Like, you only really need to use Bombos twice, so as long as you have enough magic to use Bombos twice, you should be pretty good. Where is Hatch heading? And yeah, it looks like Hatch is also going to head into Ice Palace. So currently, Azder is slightly ahead as Azder has one more boss done than, oh no, actually they have about the same because basically we traded a Dragon for a Swamp Palace.
Right.
That was
I would still say
Azder
is in the. I would say Azder's still in the lead, if only because he has bow.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Hatch is going to have to go back into the Mire area to head into Desert, where Azder didn't have to do that. Although, if Hatch can loop that in with finding a fire source, either Lantern or Fire Rod, it won't be quite as slow. And also, welcome SpeedGaming 2 to this SMZ3 run. Well, see, that's the interesting thing, Dr. RM, is that both of those items are in very easy to get, very obvious places where neither one is really going to cut either runner out very much. So those are not, I think, going to really be the items that decide this if it comes down to, that kind of a seed. So Hatch didn't do Diver Down. Hopefully Hatch is good with Icebreaker, or else that's going to be a huge time difference in this dungeon. And it's looking like that is the case.
He's doing the same routing that Azder was doing. Azder will have a much easier Cold Stare fight unless the final item is a sword. Or a fire rod, I guess.
Yeah. Well, in this case, Dr. Ariam, Desert Palace is actually a crystal, so Hatch is going to be going into Desert Palace. That's totally going to happen. Meanwhile, the Bryn Loop, you could argue that that's going to be a skip, but if we get down to the point where we're trying to find ether for Turtle Rock, that's a huge density of checks to run around through there, so it's very unlikely that Azder's not going to immediately jump to that area, should that be the case. That's all I was saying.
Especially if we're still looking for one or both rods, too. And with Speed Booster, you're not worried about orphaning any of the checks in Bryn. Because Hatch ended up having to skip the waterway check.
Quick note here for Groby in chat. There actually is a reason. There are some runners who, what they like to do is follow the obvious progression when they find a major item, because you don't often find multiple progression items. Well, I say that, but they are very likely to jump from one progression item to then go follow it and not necessarily do a bunch of checks if they can't clear where those checks are. So in this case, we don't have a fire source, so they're going to have to come back to the desert anyways. It's not that hard to do the front of it along with the back, and the reason Hatch skipped out was because Hatch found the hammer, which is an item that they were looking for. So it was actually perfectly logical for Hatch to skip it, just like it was earlier perfectly logical for Azder to skip out of Kakariko since Azder didn't have the money for the bottle vendor. It just happened to be that, both of those had important items.
And a solid Cold Stare fight for Azder, and he's out of there.
Yeah, that Tipper Sword makes that Cold Stare fight pretty nice.
Hatch at least does have a blue potion just in case things really go south.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't really find anything super great down in Ice Palace, but we got a crystal, so that's good to get it off the board. Meanwhile, Azder goes and checks Sick Kid, finds nothing. We still also haven't found a lantern, so Palace of Darkness is technically not in logic right now, which is interesting. We're probably going to see azder go ahead and clear out Swamp Palace, which we also know is empty.
I believe 2 and 5 were our red crystals, so we'll probably see a pyramid check out a hatch after he dispatches Cold Stare. And azder's taking care of, we'll be going back in the Swamp Palace.
So at this point, Hatch's best find is going to be probably Lantern, because that will push Hatch back to Desert Palace. For azder, it's basically finding the rods and being able to, either finding the rods or finding something that says, hey, go Turtle Rock, run the Brent. So right now, Chiros, technically, Palace of Darkness and Palace of Darkness is logically lantern locked, and then Desert Palace is fire locked, and Basement of Tower of Hera is fire locked. So all of those could be unlocked with the lantern. So Hatch is not having quite as easy a time here because Hatch is only on the Master Sword instead of the Temper Sword, but still manages to get it through.
You did see a few hammer swings with mixed results.
The Hammer Sword does do Temper Sword damage, just with a worse hitbox and a lot slower. We did see the Eastern checks, but not all the way through, but I believe we found all the items out of Eastern.
Yes, azder checked all 3 items in Eastern. There was nothing of significance in there.
Yeah, the only thing the Eastern has left is the green pendant, and if you like the runners, you want green pendant to be nothing. If you have a terrible sense of humor, then you want green pendant to be fire rod. So azder is doing the diver down setup. That's actually the setup that I use when I do diver down. I see a lot of people do it on the other side and get it through pretty quickly, but I've just never been able to get it to work.
I do right side. Maybe we can find a correlation. Are you left-handed?
No, I'm actually right-handed.
Oh.
Well, I guess technically ambidextrous when I fight.
I figured I'd ask. And here's our big bomb. We'll see if Pyramid Fairy does anything. And then we'll also get a Pyramid check proper and probably Quake or Catfish.
Yeah, I'm expecting that we're going to get the Catfish check, probably since it's in the area. It's unfortunate that Hatch didn't do the just a hard piece on Pyramid. Hatch didn't do any of the speed runs with the bomb. Those are always fun to see. Chat is already calling for Ped Seed. We haven't found the book yet, so we have not been able to check the pedestal.
No, but azder's just a lamp away from being able to, and the ether, I guess, from being able to do all dependent dungeons in logic.
Yes. Okay, so this seed is not a very friendly seed, as we have found very little in the way of progression in our crystal dungeons. I think Desert Palace is the only crystal dungeon that has had actual progression, isn't it?
As far as I can remember, we're also running out of locations that would actually have progression.
So this is
Zora checks was Catfish.
Yeah, hopefully
Catfish
Catfish
probably has something. We may see Varia here. We may see See a lamp?
Just above that. So yeah, hell runs are not in logic here. So Croc is not in logic currently. Lower Norfair is not in logic currently. We know that Meridia didn't really have anything unless Plasma
Tool.
has something.
Or Shack Tool.
Or Shack Tool, yeah. So Meridia was empty unless Shack Tool or Plasma has something on it. And Plasma is in logic because we do have a way to kill the pirates.
Yes. I'm trying to think of
Hatch has already checked Zora, and Zora only had a reserve tank. Did Hatch check the waterfall? And I don't recall what was in there.
He just checked waterfall and had nothing of significance.
Okay. Yeah, we do. Shack Tool is fully in logic right now. So is Plasma. Although now that I think about it, has Hatch found the plasma beam? I don't recall.
No, he's about to. So plasma beam was in. I don't know the actual location, name of the location in Super Metroid, but it was in Meridia. It looks like he's going to enter the back door of Meridia.
Freak Axel, there are 4 rooms that will allow you to switch back and forth between Link to the Past and Super Metroid. One of them is right here in the Dark Shopping Mall, and you're going to see this one take them into Meridia. So we're going to see Hatch do the back of Meridia, maybe do Shack Tool. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, okay, thank you. So it turns out Plasma was in Watering Hole, so Plasma was actually here in Meridia. So Meridia is putting Plasma being fully into logic. That's interesting.
Right. I'm trying to think of what places that we have in logic that actually haven't been checked yet, because I believe we've got Spike Cave. We've got Waterway.
And there's Hatch finding the Temper Sword.
Plasma Beam and Shack Tool, are those about in front of Meyer too? That's true.
Oh no, we also have, no one has checked any of Skullwoods yet. So we have Skullwoods, we have Criteria, the wall and Criteria, we have Shack Tool, we have Plasma, we have Waterway. So, and then we have Skullwoods, which is 2 items potentially. So we have basically, I'm counting 7 possible checks, none of which are near each other. Yeah, Azder did Palace of Darkness, but Palace of Darkness is not in logic right now. We're trying to figure out where our logical progression is going to be. And I can only count about those 7 checks right now. Which means we're getting kind of an early Ice Rod hunt. You cannot check Turtle Rock yet, Kapow, because we do not have, oh, actually, no, I take that back. Hatch could check Turtle Rock. So we do have Turtle Rock checks.
Yes.
And it looks like Azder is going to find that Ether Medallion, which means Azder might actually go do the front of Turtle Rock.
The one thing we will get checked is Waterway.
That is true. Waterway is going to be good here. And then we also might get the Criteria wall. I'm probably saying that. I'm probably giving that the wrong name. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not as up on the name conventions for Super Metroid as I am for Link to the Past. I apologize for that. So feel free to correct me if I give something a wrong name.
Chat's more than welcome to bail us out.
Well, they've already called for us to be fired because we don't like puns. So I think we're already at odds with them. There's our high jump boots for Hatch. No, Groby, we're hoping that Azure is going to check that, just like we're hoping that Hatch is going to check Shack Tool.
I'll be interested to see how Hatch. I'll be interested to see how Hatch routes this backdoor routing, because a lot of Meridia checks are done, I guess front to back.
Yeah, I'm assuming what's going to happen here is we're going to get the left sand pit, save scum, right sand pit, shack tool, save scum if there's nothing on shack tool, go check plasma, save scum if there's nothing there.
It seems fair to me. After Hatch finds plasma, of course.
I would make a what I consider to be a humorous comment regarding Super Metroid if I didn't know that Tracy M was in the room, and she's scary, so I'm not going to make my comment.
I don't know where the Woogly Bomby room is. Lol. And Hatch is on his way to Shack Tool.
Yeah, not save scumming. Might save scum if shack tool has nothing, and then check left sand pit, and then route into plasma. Which is not necessarily a bad one, because you get double checks both times.
Right.
It's nice to see that whatever the lag issue I was having is cleared up a good bit, so I'm actually able to see the checks now.
Right.
Okay, so if you are a fan of azder, you want shack tool to have nothing. If you're wanting Hatch to have the better chance of winning this, then you want Hatch to find Ice Rod back here. Specifically, I say Ice Rod because Ice Rod is the item that could literally be anywhere. So if Ice Rod's back here, azder has a whole lot of places to check.
So, Hatch left a message for us on his webcam. I believe it was cut off a little bit, but I believe it said, "Send help, please." So if you feel like it, send your energy to Hatch. And drum roll, please. Oh.
So I guess
that's one of those. It's like, it's really nice to have, but you can't justify just saving it.
Yeah. Not worthless, but not good enough to not save scum. I mean, half magic is helpful, but if you can do the torch glitch with Ganon, you don't necessarily need it. And in regards to my Super Metroid thing, basically what I was saying was earlier when Tracy was in chat, I was where was it? I was like, yeah, SM runners and their smug acronyms. They should use real names for all the skips like the rest of us randos do. Your IBJs and your what is it? IBJs and CWJs and I don't know.
I didn't actually get to see what was in Waterway, but I don't think there's anything significant.
No, it was hot nothing. So hopefully we get the plasma check here.
I'd be really surprised if Patch didn't check it.
So, we already knew spring roll was there, but so this is interesting because it is a bit. I do feel like Hatch probably legitimately feels like they're a little behind because they haven't found major progression items in a while, like for instance the bow, either of the rods, or the Varia suit. And those are kind of the four things that our runners are very much wanting to find something. Yeah, the halfie, the full halfie, the quarter halfie. Like, what is that? But so it doesn't surprise me that Hatch probably feels behind here. And Hatch is a little bit behind, but not nearly as bad as they think. Okay, so let's see if azder checks the criteria wall. I mean, honestly, I do like the name from Super Metroid. It was just a joke. Oh, Hatch is liking the plasma.
I don't know whether that was a liking smile or a grimace, because now he's got He feels like he's got to check.
Ooh, okay, yep, no, that was definitely a oh crap, what's going on head shake.
That was one of those like yes but no smiles.
Yeah, because now feels compelled to go check plasma probably. Yeah, as you're leaving Bryn, and see, this is one of those things where you do have to be really careful with your routing. So Asder leaving the Bryn loop till later was very good, but you have to be careful about confirmation bias here, where you think that you always leave the Bryn loop until later. There are times that Pink Bryn, doing Pink Bryn with nothing but a speed booster sometimes leads to the actual progression that you need for the seed. So in this case, worked out beautifully. But remember, rando's gonna rando. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well. So did Hatch find the powder already? Because that's kind of interesting considering that Hatch has already done the fake powder.
Where was powder at?
Powder was down here. It wasn't in Crab. Where was it? It was down here in this area. Oh, that was not me taking a hit at Azder, Tracy. I very much respect Azder's abilities here. That was more just for routing in general.
This randomizer, just like most randomizers, you can justify basically almost any decision. Almost any decision. So I can't really fault either of these runners for the decisions they've made. It's we're down to plasma, we're down to Turtle Rock, we're down the
I do
front
have
of
to
Turtle
say,
Rock,
I'm
we're
not
down
a fan
the
of
front of Meyer.
plasma. I think that is a mistake. Finding plasma beam and then skipping the actual plasma check, considering that it appears that Hatch feels behind, I think that isolating that plasma check might be a mistake.
I'm not 100% sure where Hatches go. Oh, he's going to check Waterway first.
Yeah. And see, that's what I mean. Like, if Hatch is going to go do checks like Waterway, why would you not check Plasma while it's there? Because we are running out of checks now. I mean, we're down to, I said 7 earlier. We checked Shack Tool, that puts us down, and we checked Waterway, so that puts us down to 5 checks available, not counting Turtle Rock. Or in this case, the dip into Meyer. So it might be pinned at Meyer. Who knows? Oh yeah, and we checked out the climb. So yeah, there's not a lot of checks in any of our positions. Like all of our dungeons that we have available now do not have a lot of logical checks. We're talking about if it happens to be one of our crystal dungeons and it's not the progression that gets us through that dungeon, we're basically looking at a double dip turtle or a double dip skull woods at this point. Unless we happen to find the fire immediately here in Meyer.
And there are 2 checks that are hard blocked by fire, 3 logical checks. Because you can't check the left side of Meyer without a fire source.
So it's going to be really interesting if our progression ends up being book. And so far, Meyer is coming up empty for what we can check. We have not gotten to check Hair Basement because we have no fire source.
Hair Basement does have an item, though.
Yeah, there is an item there, we just don't know what it is. Okay.
So I think there's 2 more checks still in Meyer. There's the big key chest and I believe vanilla compass chest.
Yeah, but Meyer
As far as
also has a
logical checks?
lot of keys, so there's a lot of things that would potentially are nothing here. Hatch is going to go ahead and check criteria climb. Just a key in the big key chest.
I'll be interested to see if azder goes ahead and does the boss here.
Well, we found one item, energy tank, not helpful.
Well, helpful, but not progression. Anyway, viewers, if you were hoping for that trolley seed we were talking about earlier, we're almost... We're at the 1 hour 50-minute mark. Or close to it. And we're checking Pendant Mire.
Yeah, checking Pendant Mire with no fire source. We have 3 items required here that we need to find, and we have no idea where any of them are right now.
I mean, we could take a pretty good guess. First chest of Turtle Rock, anyone? Plasma Beam?
So, we have a couple of fetch quests that might also come up. For instance, we haven't found Shovel, we haven't found Book. Has azder found, or I don't think azder's turned in the mushroom, but did azder find the mushroom?
Yes. And
I am a little surprised no one's gonna check Spike Cave yet, but I guess they don't really have a good reason to go up there. It seems like Spike Cave Turtle Rock might be a good play to go for next.
I mean, Spike Caves and Logic, they have the Cape and Hammer and Moon Pearl.
Man, silvers are so nice with this fight. So Hatch is doing the out of logic pod. I wonder if azder's just gonna... Oh wait, no, because you can't do a blind pull on Ped without the book, can you? Can you pull Ped
Oh, you can blind pull all you want.
Oh, okay. So azder might actually be going for blind pull Ped. Which, if it ends up being a blind pull on pedestal for progression, this kind of so far wins for trolliest SMZ3 seed I've seen this tournament.
So it wouldn't be logical progression because they still need lamp.
Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot.
That's not saying the lamp's not in the first chest of Total Rock or a Plasma Beam, but... Oh, we haven't... Have we done the front of Skullwoods yet?
No, nobody's checked Skullwoods. This is the first time. We were talking about it earlier, how I said that it was a little odd that when they both went and did Turtle or Thieves Town, neither of them came and checked the front of Skullwoods. Just because I usually find that people kind of route in the front of Skullwoods and Thieves Town kind of together just in case.
I've been burned too many times by not checking the front of Skullwoods to not check the front of Skullwoods.
Yeah, aim into that. Okay, we're getting another bottle glitch. Fun times.
Although the first check in Skullwoods ended up being 50 rupees, and that's one of 2 potential items.
Well, still no Varia, still no Fire Rod.
So there'll be 2 chests here that can potentially have an item, and that's just
Nothing.
missiles.
Yep.
So
Skullwood's not the play. Is azder... Oh, no, azder can't do it yet. We don't have the Eastern Palace. Azder could technically, out of logic, go grab the Eastern Palace pendant, check Sarhashala, and check the pedestal. But I really think that the Turtle Rock Spike Cave is probably the play there.
It's either Turtle Rock Spike Cave or or plasma beam at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, plasma beam could
For
be it.
something.
Although, I mean, as trolly as it would be for it to be plasma beam, considering that both runners kind of skipped it, I almost hope it's not that. And Hatch has already done the graveyard ledge check, so we know it's not this.
We may be missing a spot, Meredith, but it's we're just scraping at the bottom of the barrel on places our runners want to go.
Yeah, I really do think that we should run Spike and then go check front of Turtle Rock. I think that's probably the correct play, and only because if you find Fire Rod in Spike Cave, you know you can, if you find Fire Rod in Spike Cave, you know you can go Turtle Rock. If you don't find it in Spike Cave, and then you find it first chest, then you've already done the Spike Cave clear, so you don't have to worry about doing it after Turtle Rock, and you can then go clear Turtle Rock. So I really think that should be the route.
I would say that the item they probably least want to find here is Lamp.
Oh, that I agree. Or Book. Lamp or Book would be... Lamp, Book, or Shovel would just be just super troll.
I mean, Lamp is logically required, but... they're really hoping for Varia at this point.
See, the thing is, Lamp makes Blind Ped in Logic and puts Hera Basement in Logic. But that's about all Lamp. And Desert.
And the left side of... the left side of Misery Mire. Because there's still an item left in Misery Mire that we don't know. That was fire blocked. How's the item logic for Spike Cave in SMZ3? I don't know if there's a hard, heart requirement or not. I believe it requires hammer, or it requires glove, hammer, moon pearl, and either cape or burna.
Yes.
I don't think the logic says, hey, if you have 15 hearts or a bottle, then that's good.
Azder is going to go ahead and do the front of Turtle Rock, so we'll see what that is.
If this isn't the key, then he's going to just get stuck here. It's a key, so he can go a little bit deeper. The logic for straight up LTTPR and SMZ3 for the A Link to the Past side is slightly different. So I don't know if straight up A Link to the Past randomizer has slightly different logic requirements for Spike Cave or not.
So this might be there's Maria.
Wow.
Yep, okay, cool. Ridley, Upper Norfair, or Lower Norfair, which makes sense because there are a lot of checks to be made in Lower Norfair, and the Ridley escape is basically necessary after you beat Ridley anyways, so you're not really costing yourself anything from doing those checks.
I'll really be interested in seeing if Fire Rod is in some place like the other locations, like either Spike Cave here or Plasma, or did it require you to go into the second chest of Turtle Rock without Fire Rod?
Right, but see, the nice thing, though, is that Varia suit came so early that the double dip into Turtle Rod that we were kind of talking about earlier is almost a free double dip. So it's kind of pretty okay there. All we got was air capacity. So it doesn't really cost too much to go ahead and just mirror out, jump over to Super Metroid, and go run into Lower Norfair, hit up Ridley, do the escape, and then come back again. And we're going to see Hatch find the bow. We might see, we might be glad that Hatch has microphone off after Hatch finds this bow. Not that it's been important yet, though.
It looks like Azder's changing his mind and is going to do the back to front for Norfair instead of... that's a big smile on Hatch's face after finding that bow.
I think that's more a "oh crap, what did I do" kind of smile, but yeah, that is yeah, a little bit of some gritting of teeth there, unfortunately. But hey, it happens. Rando's gonna rando.
You know, to be honest, I was half expecting Azder to be taking fire damage now that he's got Varia, just to really screw things up.
How ironic would that be? Varia somehow got inverted, take extra fire damage from the environment. See, so now we're getting to the point where all of these little time losses are really going to add up because we only have 3 items, one of which azder has found. So we're getting to that point where every little bit of time loss or item advantage is really going to compound here. And this is where you can say that azder, because of that Varia suit find, has an advantage. And the longer it takes Hatch to find that Varia suit, the more that advantage is going to grow. Hatch might be doing the green pendant though, and if green pendant happens to be our ice rod, then maybe this race is closer than it looks right now.
Right. Because we're gonna finish pod, probably finish Easter, and go from there.
The big thing here, right?
It'll be interesting to see if azder farms up any ammo before going into Ridley, because we don't have Charge Beam, and he doesn't have enough supers to actually, or supers on hand in order to finish Ridley.
His supers and power bomb count are not enough. He will have to farm.
I mean, he can still use normal missiles though.
Yeah.
All of those 5 supers are going to assist. So Hatch has a couple more dark rooms to go through for pod, but that shouldn't really be any problem for him.
And we found all the items out of pod already, right? So this is just getting the crystal?
I think so. I didn't know. Yeah, just the map.
Yeah. And important to note that while azder is ahead getting this Ridley check done, nothing he's doing here is something that Hatch isn't going to also be forced to do. So azder is ahead, but will only really remain ahead as long as this also provides the logical progression to the other 2 items we're looking for. If one of those 2 items is in a really out-of-the-way trolley space that Hatch happens to check and azder doesn't, then this race is going to tighten up.
I believe Ridley should be dead at this point. He's just being kind of trolly and not wanting to, well, end the fight.
Is Ridley not a troll in any game that Ridley is in?
Metroid 1? He's not too bad at Metroid 1. Varia was in the Chain Chomp chest in Turtle Rock.
And meanwhile, we're getting Hatch hammering down Helmasaur's mask and is going to silver arrow it to death. And yep, map on Helmasaur. So we get our crystal here, but possibly Hatch is going to go ahead and make the play to take out the Armos Knights, grab that green pendant, and check green pendant. Which, if this ends up being a blind ped seed, then that'll be really interesting. Not anywhere near to it though, because Hatch has not done any of the other pedestals or any of the other pendants, and very unlikely to go back up into tower repair without a fire source to check that basement.
I'm fully expecting to find a lamp at this point somewhere in Norfair.
Well, that would be, I mean, that would technically be continued checks, pseudo progression, because I mean,
Head's still very much not dead.
No, the pet dream is still technically alive. Screw it.
Well, it's late. It's late, but it still has fringe uses, that screw attack. It's not unwelcome, but it's past the point where you really want screw attack.
Springwall Maze is a bust.
So Hatch going through...
And Springwall also a bust.
Hatch is finishing up that Eastern play.
So how many people want the green pendant to be our progression?
This is a green pendant or ped progression. How long do we have before the next thing on the schedule?
Well, yeah, here's what's interesting. I do have to say this. If green pendant leads to fire rod, Hatch is going to be just not go mode, but is definitely going to be afterburners on, because that's probably going to push Hatch directly to going to Turtle Rock. So if we end up getting green pendant, fire rod, that'll go Turtle Rock, and then directly into Norfair, and they'll be right on each other's heels. Good point. Varia Suit also opens up Bubble Mountain and Crocomire. So there are just a ton of checks that were locked behind the Varia Suit logically. And as many people pointed out, the weirdness we had with the Varia Suit, or with the heated rooms not doing damage, definitely had an effect on this race in regards to the fact that azder is able to do hell runs, but out of fairness, probably did skip on those. If we get to do interviews, that's definitely something we're going to ask about, just because, you know, that might have actually had kind of an effect on the closeness of this race, if Crocomire ends up having progression. So looks like
Hatch on the way to Spike Cave.
Yep, Spike Cave, and then possibly the front of Turtle Rock.
You think he would do the front of Turtle Rock, or you think he does Hera first? Oh, there's Charge Beam. And there's the lamp.
Oh, we now have a fire source. Puts Landmola's in Logic now. That puts Hera Basement in Logic. We still don't have Skullwood, back of Skullwoods, but we know there are no items in Skullwoods. Hatch is not doing Turtle Rock, just in
the back of Skullwoods still requires Fire Rod.
Back of Skullwoods is Fire Rod. That's the thing. But it doesn't put it in Logic, but it doesn't really matter progression-wise, because we know that, one, there's nothing in Skullwoods, and two, both of the items are in the front of Skullwoods. So I just want to point this out. The logic here was, had to go into Turtle Rock to get the Varia Suit, to then go into Bubble Mountain to find the lamp, and then what is the lamp locking? Because we know it's not Eastern, and we know it's not Palace of Darkness, which means if the lamp is our progression, it's only going to be Hera Basement, isn't it? Is there an item?
There's Hera Basement. There's Hera Basement, and there's still one item on the left side of Misery Mire.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot the fire and Misery Mire. So we've got Mire Pod, item, we've got Hera basement item, and we've got, and yeah, that's it. So, oof. That
And then,
is,
of course, Ped's now in logic for azder.
that is true. That is true, because it does make blind pull ped logical as well. So it opens up basically 3 possible sections that we haven't checked. Well, guys, I mean, if you wanted the troll seed, very few things could make this seed trollier.
I would guess that azder will check. Oh, there's Fire Rod.
Okay, Fire Rod is nice. We are on an actual, not metaphorical, an actual Ice Rod hunt for Go Mode now. However, that is Go Mode into Skull Woods. That is Go Mode Desert Palace. And we're going to see Hatch do the initial dip into Mire. See, if you're wanting Hatch to be more in this, you were hoping that they were going to be skipping this check. But, yep. I mean, it makes sense to do this check over doing the front of Turtle Rock, I guess. But I don't know. Doing the spike, I think you really would have wanted to do that.
This might be the pull Ped and hope check.
But didn't
well, we're still
Tower
missing that Ice Rod, which could be in. I guess there's not a whole lot of locations it could still be, because we're going to basically 100% this seed.
Yeah, Ice Rod could literally be in any of our possible checks now. Like, we have access to everything except for Trinex in Link to the Past. So Ice Rod, you know, it could be anywhere. It's probably going to end up being on Laser Bridge, because Ice Rod is always on Laser Bridge when it gets this late. Like, that just seems to be where it is.
Well, there's still Ice Beam location, the 2 spots in that general area. It could still be the Plasma Beam dream.
That is true. It still could be Plasma Beam. No one has checked Plasma Beam. So, chat, where do you want Ice Rod to be? How about that? We can speculate all day, but where do you guys want it to actually be?
You ask a question which you already know the answer, which is Ped. And it is looking like azder is going to go ahead and finish up Skull Woods while he's here.
Yeah, it makes sense that Azder's going to do this. I assume Azder is going to do Skull Woods, do Desert Palace, and then head up to Turtle Rock, just in case that Ice Rod is in Turtle Rock, because that just makes the smoothest routing to just kind of finish up the game. Although Azder does still have to do Palace of Darkness, which is a little bit out of the way to get to, but with Flute, it's not really that hard.
No.
Because basically Flute to Desert, Flute to Palace of Darkness, Flute to Death Mountain, and then go to Turtle Rock. So the question is, do you think that Azder is, out of an abundance of caution, going to go ahead and grab that green pendant in case of Sharhashala or Ped?
I don't know at this point. I don't think he will. I think he'll probably go for item density more than anything, so I expect after this little bit of cleanup he's going to do, I expect the Turtle Rock play.
So if you're a Hatch fan, you're hoping that it's blind Ped and that Azder skips green pendant?
Pretty much. If you're a Hatch fan. But I would expect the Turtle Rock play just for the item density.
Mothfield being a little bit mean, staying up there at the top, but luckily coming down, so not too bad of a fight.
And now Hatch in I guess he got by the... Or he's in the, what I would consider the hardest... Well, the hardest dark area in the game. He got past the one switch, the first switch.
I do not envy this dark room run. But it is quite a skilled little run he's doing here. Yep, and here it is, like we thought, go mode desert.
And azder already got both items out of desert, so...
Yeah, azder cleared front of desert earlier when they did the checkerboard cave. Were the arrows into the wall unintentional, or is there a strat that I'm unaware of?
I'm pretty sure they were unintentional.
I thought so, but I mean, you know, so much of the execution's been so clean, I had to wonder because, you know, yeah, like, get some such.
Clearly, he was firing some warning shots and offering Vitreous the chance to surrender. And Vitreous said no.
I do find it interesting that both of our fire sources were Varia suit locked.
This is one of the, there's a few, quote, friends that need this, seed passed to them for their enjoyment.
I don't think anybody you give this seed to is your friend, or if they are, they won't remain your friend.
Hey, some people like, you know, this kind of punishment in a seed.
We have one check in Meyer, one check in Hera, Pedestal, and what is that? Is that it? Are those the only three things we haven't seen so far? Plus Turtle Rock itself. But I'm just mean, aside from Turtle Rock, we've got those three checks are the only things we haven't seen yet.
I'm not thinking of anything else. Then again, there are who knows how many locations. Enough. But I'm feeling a little bit sorry for Hatch here, because all he's going to find is a blue pendant. Because he's not going to find any more items. So as they're going in and finishing up Pod, he's already checked all the chests, got all the chests. Just basically a boss rush at this point, all of the items. The remaining chests he hasn't checked are both guaranteed small keys and the map. Hatch going to... should have a pretty easy time with Moldorm. Does have Bacon. So, it should just be a couple hits. Unless you take a dive. And then it's still double hits.
Oh no, that's unfortunate.
So at least it wasn't the middle hole, but it's still... Moldorm's one of those more just annoying bosses than hard. But it just feels bad when you get knocked off.
Honestly, at this point, Hatch is probably, getting a little bit of nerves going since we're getting this late, and Hatch having found no progression yet. Yep. But Hatch is a very emotive runner, which is kind of fun to watch. So now you have to wonder, is Hatch going to go do the blind pet pull?
I think it's almost certain he's going to do it.
See, so here, with the okay, even I can read that, what he said there. Actually, this might be the Turtle Rock play, finally. So what I was saying earlier was, I have to wonder if there's a little bit of routing experience here, where we were talking about do the Spike Cave into the Turtle Rock, and if it ends up being nothing, continue on with your checks, where Hatch did just the Spike Cave and then left. Like, is that something, would most experienced runners for the routing do that kind of route? Or is the just fight cave, go off and don't worry about Turtle Rock kind of the more like logical play?
I think you can justify both. This is one of the various progression in general is very weird in comparison to your normal seed. So going into Turtle Rock without Fire Rod just kind of feels bad. It's kind of like checking the first chest in Swamp. It's just not something you want to do until the very end. So it's running out of checks like that. You can justify it either way because it's just basically one-off checks at that point, and it's not going to Turtle Rock from Spike Cave and going from to Turtle Rock from the Old Man's Cave isn't really much of a difference.
We did not get the green pendant check from azder, so if it is blind ped, this is looking better and better for Hatch. Meanwhile, azder is going to go ahead and check that powder with the real powder instead of the fake powder. How much face palming is Hatch going to do, though, when he finds this Varia suit?
We'll probably get a couple of head shakes. We're going to get one of those, like, oh no smiles.
That is,
maybe not.
That is that is about the most.
Maybe a look of anguish.
Yep, and there's another one. Okay, yeah, Hatch really feels behind here. So Hatch is hoping for probably plasma or the pedestal.
This is the blind ped pool.
Okay,
you're gonna get it.
Chat, cross your fingers. This is going to be our ice rod.
And Hatch needs this to be an ice rod, or it's probably over.
Meanwhile, azder, okay, it wasn't a cathedral. That's good for Hatch. And it's not that either one of us want Hatch or azder to win specifically over the other. We just want this to be a race. Ideally, this is going to come down to like a 2-minute difference.
Oh, just missiles.
Oh man, Hatch was really hoping there. Okay, so it wasn't there.
So azder's checking the last couple of checks in Norfair that he skipped out on.
Oh, so yeah, so Hatch is gonna go ahead and run Norfair, and then probably gonna do Bubble Mountain, Crocomire, all of that. We do still have one check in Mire, don't we? There's one item left?
Yes. I would expect azder to probably do the last 2 Meridia checks first, if this doesn't work out. Since he seems hesitant to go back into Turtle Rock without the ice rod. Or maybe not, because we just got a full reset.
I didn't notice. Did azder check Crumble Tower?
Oh, he hasn't done Gauntlet yet. Or maybe the front of Gauntlet.
No, I thought azder did Gauntlet. I guess not, but I thought azder routed Gauntlet into... I guess not. That was Hatch that did that. So Plasma Beam is the only Super Metroid check we haven't done yet. Now, azder hasn't checked Shack Tool, but we know Shack Tool only has half. So the only thing we haven't seen that I can think of in Super Metroid is Plasma Beam. And then we have the one Mire check and the Hera basement in Link to the Past. And then if any of those happen to be Book or Shovel, we have obviously the Book and the Shovel check.
And then, of course, all of Turtle Rock besides Trinex. Well, you need Ice Rod for Trinex, but we know Trinex can't have Ice Rod.
Yeah. So it looks like what azder is doing is just kind of being cautious, checking all the isolated ones, before running into Turtle Rock, probably because the second chest in Turtle Rock play was so kind of like such a weird kind of location that he might feel like he's ahead enough that he can go do all these one-offs, or at least doesn't want to be, have another situation like that second chest of Turtle Rock situation making him lose out. Actually, it looks like he's gonna go do Mother Brain.
He's gonna finish Super Metroid. I feel like a lot of time runners go finish Super Metroid in places like this when they want a little bit of time to think about what to do next, or if they maybe think they've forgotten a check. It just to give them a little bit of time.
Okay. Now, even finishing Super Metroid does not put azder out of this race if the Plasma Beam is your Ice Rod, because even finishing Super Metroid, the planet doesn't technically blow up. He can come back into Super Metroid, and he can get back to that check pretty easily by going through the Dark Shopping Mall. So this is not going to be a problem if it turns out to be Ice Rod on Plasma Beam, unless Hatch somehow decides to go check that way early and then just go muds the rest of the seed. And azder literally 100% last location. So that would be about the only way that this is going to really hurt him. Otherwise, this is a perfectly fine play because this is something he needs to do anyways.
And that was a well done baby skip.
Yeah,
and azder is also saving the animals by doing Mother Brain first because the planet doesn't blow up.
azder does not have any ice. Oh no, he does have ice. Oh, he's doing the spring ball skip.
Interesting. I haven't seen that setup before.
I did not even know that existed until I saw Apathy Duck talking about it the other day, and I was actually discussing it on the previous race that I had calmed, and then it was done, and both of us were like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." We literally had not seen it at all, and now I've seen it twice since. So I don't know if it's become just the new hot tech, or if I don't know. And here's our Ridley fight for Hatch done.
Very clean. So with the full beam combo, I believe it's 30 charge shots. I'm sure chat will be able to correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it's 60, isn't it? Because it doesn't do the same as
it's 60 supers. Oh, it's just 20 shots.
Oh, okay, so I was way wrong. Clearly, I'm not a Super Metroid speedrunner. I am casual scrub when it comes to these games.
Stand-up glitch being set up.
Nice.
So normally, Samus wouldn't be able to move at all during this cutscene, but azder performed a setup to where he's still able to move while the Baby Metroid cutscene is underway for Mother Brain. This will allow azder to do some additional damage to Mother Brain before he actually gets the Hyper Beam. There is a small amount of risk of a soft lock for doing this if you do the setup wrong, but azder's done everything right for this, and he's just going to put in a lot of damage to where he might only need maybe 3 or 4 Hyper Beam shots to actually finish the fight off.
Yes, and it really is just a situation where doing this effectively turns what would be a cutscene where you stand and do nothing into time that you can just whittle down Mother Brain to make it so you only need like 4 Hyper Beams, I think, if you do it perfectly after the you get it active.
I believe that was 5 or 6 right there. So it was very well done. Stand-up glitch.
Oh, and then I believe, I could be wrong on this, but I believe something that is unique to the SMZ3 is that if azder does have to come back in and do Plasma, he will have the Hyper Beam the whole time, won't he?
He'll keep Hyper Beam until he transitions.
Okay.
So if he transitions back to a Link to the Past, then he loses Hyper Beam and it goes back to a standard beam combo. The biggest problem with, leaving Super Metroid checks after a Mother Brain is that Mother Brain drains all of your ammo. So if you have any ammo doors you still have to go through, then you've got to get at least some ammo someplace. But I expect Azder to just enter a Link to the Past after, and just go from there and hope that the Ice Rod is in the couple of checks he's left.
Hatch picks up the Ice Beam, is doing all of these checks. We'll find the fire sources, and then it just comes down to where's that Ice Rod? So if you are a fan of Hatch, you're going to want it not to be in Turtle Rock. If you're an azder follower, you're going to want it to be there so that this seed can be done quicker.
And Azder is headed to Turtle Rock.
Yeah, absolutely the correct play. Head to Turtle Rock, do Turtle Rock. It's most likely there. Just statistically, there are more checks there. It's most likely that you're going to find it there. Plus, I mean, the heuristics tell you Ice Beam's always on Laser Bridge. It's not always on Laser Bridge. So it's probably going to be there.
So Hatch is going to be picking up his lamp soon. Going to be picking up, if he goes to Croc, he'll be picking up Fire Rod soon.
Hopefully Hatch picks up that lamp and then continues to do the checks and doesn't jet out to go check Hera Basement.
I forgot. Charge Beam was here as well, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think Charge Beam was.
And there it is.
Charge Beam lamp. Okay, good. Hatch is staying. So just to reiterate, aside from Plasma, there are two other places Ice Beam could be hiding that aren't in Turtle Rock. We have the Hera Basement, and we have the one chest in Mire. All three of those locations could also technically have our Ice Beam.
That's correct. I'm not thinking of any place else we've missed that we haven't seen. It's not Ped. Ped was missiles. Hatch pulled it with a dream. Fortunately, the dream didn't work out.
So how many items are in Turtle Rod? And then the other question, or Turtle Rock, I'm sorry. And then the other question is how many checks are in Turtle Rock?
So I think it's 6 items? Oh, 5 plus Mimic Cave. So
6 total checks in this area, and then how many actual items could you find?
Oh, there's 12 total checks. It's a total, counting Mimic Cave, it's a total of 6 items. One of them was already found before we came in because that was the Varia suit.
Yes. So we have 5 items, and then there were 10 more checks left. Okay, so we're still at 50-50, effectively.
Right. And it was just some normal missiles. We'll see if Hatch decides to enter the Croc area from this side. It looks like that's a yes.
And where was the Fire Rod again? I can't remember which one of these. I know it's down here in this area, but I can't remember which.
Fire Rod was the check just left of Croc.
Okay. So should be finding it soon. Getting the Mimic Cave check.
And it's always poor Croc time when you have charged plasma for Croc. just one charged plasma beam shot, and Croc has a bad day.
And ripped off Croc's arm.
I know he didn't rip off Croc's arm. That's a shame.
Okay.
Oh well.
So, nothing in Mimic Cave. Nothing in Big Chest. You know, it's looking likely that this is the super trolliest ice rod.
There's only 5 more chests.
Oh,
Never mind, it's over.
And
in 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 20 seconds into the seed, azder has hit go mode. In one of the trolliest seeds I've ever seen.
That was, well, you know, that's gonna call it. I mean, they both did really well. I don't see any way Hatch can get back from this, barring catastrophic failures of some kind that are not in-game failures. So let's just kind of watch it all as it plays out and watch the beautiful execution azder's gonna give us.
So now that we're actually in go mode and really close to Ganon's tower, I don't know if our stream has it, but there's a little game we like to play, and it's what's the number for the Ganon's tower big key? There are 22 possible item locations. And the little game we like to play is which number is it?
So what do you go for, Aaron?
I've been going for 8 recently because I had 3 seeds in a row where it was in the exact same chest, which was basically chest number 8 for me. So now I always pick number 8, even though it's never been 8 since. Go figure.
Amen. Confirmation bias.
Absolutely.
Information.
Anyway, we've got a Trinex fight with Bacon. Shouldn't be too difficult.
A Trinex fight, a Trinex massacre, a small speed bump on the way to Ganon, you know.
And Hatch did collect his fire rod after Croc.
Yeah, and wisely going ahead and doing the rest of the checks just in case Ice Rod's down here also.
We'll see where he heads next. It wouldn't surprise me if he went immediately to Turtle Rock, just as a play, and that he's already in the area.
Yeah, and you know, this is honestly the absolute beauty of SMZ3. Throughout the race, the runners were, you know, pretty neck and neck. At times, azder was in the lead, but not by such a great margin that you could really even call it a lead, really. I mean, yeah, he was in the lead, but it wasn't anything that you could come back from with just 1 or 2 checks. And then it really came down to that one decision of the Spike Cave and Turtle Rock combination check that just really let azder run away with it.
It's just one of those. It's just, this was a routing seed all the way, and it was just terrible item locations, to be honest. And the path azder took was just a little bit better.
And what was really nice was that we did see some divergence of run early on because, you know, you could. And those are the kinds of seeds that really can get fun, where you see runners kind of go off on different paths, cross back over, and then it really comes down to that 1 or 2 late game checks that decide it. And watching these runners be so close throughout the run was a real treat.
And the seed was so kind at the beginning because he had the super early morph ball and super early hook shot and super early mitts. And
I believe this is the 3rd check, 4th right there. Am I correct in the numbers? That's 5th.
That's
and
6. That's 7.
I was off by 1.
Because Azder did do the 2 chests on the right side first and the torch. And then
Oh, okay. That's what I was
here.
missing. I forgot the torch.
How could you forget the torch?
Because
It has been a long scene. It's been a long scene.
It's not a box. I don't count it, even though I know I'm in the wrong.
That's fair. My guess, which was number 8, did contain a key, but it wasn't the key that I needed.
I woke up this morning as an emergency tracker for one run, and I'm ending the day as comms for another. So, you know, it's been a long day for everyone.
And I'm sort of emergency comms, so yay!
Well, I'm glad you were here. It's been a treat doing this. And meanwhile, we're just seeing Azder just showing off all the strats here. We're about to see Rando Room.
And Hatch is finishing up his crystals besides Turtle Rock, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he went to Turtle Rock after this. He's just go.
I said we're
go ahead, finish up the crystals here. Hope Turtle Rock has your ice rod, and then you're already up there for Ganon's tower.
That's 13. And that's 14 is Butter Sword. Once again, I think I'm right on the numbers. I could be wrong.
That's Butter Sword was 13.
Oh, okay, 13. I didn't get off so much.
Butter Sword's 13. Yeah.
Okay. If you want Hatch to be in this, you just need to hope Azder does that same fall like 15 more times in a row. It's not going to happen, but, you know, hope springs eternal. And honestly, that would not be very entertaining, so I do not hope that happens at all. Okay, so that was 14.
That was 14. Siding from the Ice Armos.
This should be a super quick kill with silvers.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Vanilla's number 15, and it's in the vanilla location. And with Butter Sword, there's no reason. Butter Sword with silvers, there's no reason to check any more chests in here.
And
except validation.
Yeah, and as Azder has already finished Mother Brain, this will be crossing the bridge is GG. So let's see how long this gauntlet takes. I'm assuming it's going to be very quick.
With Butter Sword and silvers, yeah. Although Azder might be a little bit hesitant to use all of his arrows. He's only got 10 left. You ideally want 4 for Ganon, even though you can kill Ganon without silvers.
He's probably going to find some more in the tower here. Yeah, Azder is a bit tired. You can see him stifling some yawns, kind of lounging back. So are we now to the point where we're hoping for narcolepsy attacks?
No.
I am honestly not, because I really think that we would say pause it there and probably call the race in his favor anyways.
And Hatch is headed up to Turtle Rock as we anticipated. He'll find his ice rod there. He'll get in go mode.
And I mean, like I said, it's really good seeing this, because as soon as Hatch found the items, he knew exactly where to go. He was really hitting the stride. It just happened to be kind of that, you know, even the bow in Desert wasn't that big a deal, because it didn't really come into play since Azder go-mode into Dark Palace.
I mean, bow wasn't that big of a deal anyway, because he had actually already collected all of the items in Pod and Eastern anyway, except for Green Pendant, of course.
Yeah.
And so there was no hurry for him to go back and finish it until he was just ready to be in go mode or needed time to think.
Okay, so who is Azder going to be facing in the next round?
Assuming there's no catastrophic failures, his next opponent will be Alucard 2004, who defeated Apathy Duck earlier in this tournament. It'll be a quarterfinals match.
That will be quite an interesting race.
Almost had the oops out of magic, but luckily found a lamp to bail him out.
Then there's the full magic. So skipping the, or not doing the shackleful check for the half magic almost came into play. But as you can see, it is just a quality of life item. It's not necessary if you practice this enough.
Azder chooses not to validate. Oh man. I'm sure that $20 will be forever missed. Because it's always a big
validate
20.
the parking.
And it's time for geometry with Aghanim. And that will be
nice
the
there.
easiest triple you will ever see in this fight.
And then a double, so we need one more hit, right?
One more hit. It just takes 6 hits.
And there it is. And no blue balls. That was kind of nice.
A very easy Aga one.
And if you are interested in the SMZ3, remember you can get your very own seat at samus.link.
The only thing left is a pig with butter and silvers and red mail, and yeah, this is going to be a short fight. One way or the other, because 5 hearts isn't a whole lot of leeway for this.
Well, he does have red mail though, so it's not that bad.
It's still not a whole lot of leeway, but no, it's just.
Oh, this looks so much like an app, like 100%ing both games.
Yeah. Never found morph ball bombs though. Did you find the arrows in the light world? Yes, we had the arrows for the last, like, 2 hours.
We actually found the arrows before we ever found the bow.
And no torch glitch, but no problem. As long as we don't fall in the pit. This will be the end for Azder.
Yeah, and Hatch is not happy about that ice rod location either. I think all of the last 3 items just really led to Hatch kind of feeling it there. And with an official time of 2 hours, 46 minutes, and 49 seconds, Azder is the winner. So we still did come in under 3 hours in this seed. So as trolly as it was, I mean, both runners just did really, really, really well here. Hats off to both of them.
And also, we have a forfeit from Hatch.
Which does make sense.
Which is fully understandable based on how this seed went.
Okay, we're going to see if we can get the runners in here to ask them a couple of questions and kind of see what their thoughts on this were. Although, considering how sleepy Azder seems to be, and I mean, Hatch seems like he's in a pretty good mood. One second, just getting him in if I can.
be getting them on shortly. And we are joined by Azder. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So, the first thing I want to ask before we even talk about, the layout of the seed is, what was your thinking when you started going through Lower Norfair and realized you weren't taking any heat damage without the Varia suit?
Forgot about that. That was so long ago. I was like, I don't remember getting Varia, but there's probably, like, I'm half asleep. There's probably some room where I wasn't paying attention. And then I realized the acid was doing full damage to me. Which it's not supposed to do full damage if you have Varia. And then I was just like, I didn't get it, did I? And then I was wondering if it was something to do with coming in through GT refill, because that was changed in the new version. And then I realized that unequipping gravity is making me take heat damage. So
then you put it back on and you weren't. So
did that affect your other routing, for instance, doing dives into Cathedral or Crocomire?
See, I'd kind of forgotten about it at that point. To not really, I don't remember. Sorry, I'm so tired.
Understandable. That looked like an exhausting seed based on just how things went. But if you have any, like, other than that first heat check, I guess, in Super Metroid, do you have any special comments about the seed, like the Varia location and what logic expected of it?
So like when I got Ether, I was just like, okay, well, I'm not gonna get anywhere in Tira because I don't have Fire Rod. So I went to Meyer and got baited into that and couldn't do left side. So I left an item in there, and then I was like, is this Fire Rodless T-Rock? And then I saw Variant, and I was just like, oh yeah, that is a thing. And then that made more sense. The thing with the heat damage, I think, is because I used Sprite something to rip the suit palette from a different hack, which is something I use in the SM Rando standalone. But I don't like the way that it splits the. I don't like the way that the program forces you to have the modified screw tech sprite.
Yeah.
That it's different without space jump. I don't like that. I'm not used to it. So I did reverse patching thing to get rid of it, and I think I probably made a mistake when I did that.
Right.
Didn't have an effect on the actual game, and I mean, you caught it, and the rest of us saw it. And it didn't have an effect on the runs themselves. That's good. How about when you were doing that? Because your opponent went and did a blind pull on Ped. Was that something, because you did have 2 of the pendants, was that something that crossed your mind at all?
What was the pendant that I didn't have? It was East. Okay, yeah, Eastern. So when it came down to like Ice Rod is probably in T-Rock, but it could be at a bunch of other crappy locations. Like it could have been Left Side Mire. It could have been
Plasma Beam, Shack Tool. Shack Tool was half magic.
Yeah.
We never saw Plasma Beam location.
So I'm like, okay, it could also be in Green Pendant Eastern. Like, it could be on the green pendant itself, but I already got all the 3 items from there. So my thinking was I was gonna check all the remaining like overworld spots that weren't super slow, and then I was just gonna go rush T-Rock, and I was going to try and save my portal and do the things that I could do while saving it if Ice Rod wasn't there. So I was gonna do Green Pendant Eastern and then Pedpole after that. And then if that didn't work out, I was gonna go back for left side Mire. The Plasma Shack was too slow, and you lose your portal if you go back to Super Metroid.
Right.
So I was in a position where like getting the 3 pendants wasn't something that I wanted to try first. Oh, did I leave an item in Hera Basement?
Yes,
Yes.
you did.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I think I was thinking about it at one point, because it took me forever to get a fire source.
Yeah, both fire sources were locked behind the Varia suit over in the cathedral area and Crocomire. So
Which required the Turtle Rock dip without Fire Rod, which
Right.
this ended up being one of the meaner seeds I've ever seen as far as a full logic perspective. It looked from our perspective that the seed was really open early. It had the super early morph ball, which was a little bit unfortunate for you. You didn't have enough money to pay bottle vendor at the very beginning, but that didn't really cost you all that.
I completely forgot about that too.
Didn't really cost you much, and we were a little bit worried when he farmed up to 500 rupees and stopped at 500. We thought you may end up going to Zora without going back to bottle vendor, but then I don't know whether you just realized it at that time you hadn't paid bottle vendor, but you went immediately to bottle vendor after getting 500 rupees, got your morph ball, and then basically immediately went to Super Metroid.
I realized I hadn't done race game because of the way I routed Kakariko. I skipped race game, so I was farming money for Zora, and then I remembered that because of race game, going to Kak was actually 2 checks and not 1.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have gone to Zora. So it wasn't remembering. It wasn't actually directly remembering bottle vendor.
It's just a happy accident. But then the seed, opened up really early because it's super early morph ball, and Wreck Ship was completely loaded with things, but really not much else of anything. The Brinstar had Ether, and that was basically it.
At the very end, I was getting nervous until I got something good from it.
So it was just one of those. It's like both you and Hatch were going around just looking for either Varia or Fire Rod or just a fire source in general, and just checking all of these, trying to do the best checks you could, the most item dense checks you could, and then it's just a sort of a little bit of desperation on both ends as you're checking things you really don't want to check, like Pendant Mire or things like that.
Oh yeah, so I'd completely forgotten about the fact that I hadn't done Orpher for a long time, because I kind of put it out of my mind for a while as an option. Part of it was like having like tried to go there, I thought I'd already done it, and part of it was when I initially reset out of it, I was like, well, okay, I don't know why this is happening, but to actually like do a suitless like properly and not have it be subject to that, I would have to unequip gravity, and that means I would have to be prepared to take more damage. So I put off thinking about hell runs for a while and just never really remembered about it being an option until I found Varia.
Right.
Would you mind commenting just a little bit on the choice to do Wreck Ship before Bryn Loop? Is that common, and like what's your general take on like what item and what loadout do you have or do you need to do Wreck Ship before Bryn?
It was Space Jump. Space Jump puts is one of the things that puts Redship in logic. Speed Booster also does it. Grapple also does it. But Space Jump is probably the most convenient out of those items. And it was just like it having one of those items makes me feel more confident that there is something there and it is worth going. Bryn Loop is usually like the thing that you default to doing first, because usually if you get Morph Ball super early, you don't have many better options, but it's actually like a huge pendant dungeon basically, and if there happens to be nothing in it, you can save a lot of time from skipping it. It's not super likely that you'll be able to skip it though, but it's good to at least try, and it's kind of funny that the only thing there is Ether, and that was like super needed.
Yeah, it was very much fun watching you guys do this, and you sound absolutely exhausted. Did you have any other questions, Eric?
I don't.
Well, we will let you get some sleep. Good job, and rest up for your race with Alucard. I hope we get to see that on Restream also.
Oh yeah, one other thing that I just reminded myself of was when I mentioned Speed Booster as one of the logical items for Redship. I delayed going to Thieves Town, like kind of waiting for Hammer first, and Speed Booster was in the big chat. It's crazy.
Oh, I remember that now. It's like one of those. It's like we were commenting on you went to the front of Thieves. It's like, well, you might not do Thieves at all to start off with because you don't have Hammer, and then you went into Thieves, and then you left just at the front 4. And so it's like, well, you didn't do it because you were waiting for Hammer, and it turned out to be like an excellent move.
It was nice. I don't think that Speed Booster was actually required. I forget where Ice Beam was. I don't think it was required though.
Ice Beam was just outside of Weight Beam.
Yeah, no, Speed Booster was not required anywhere because you could get into Croc without it, and your Fire Rod was just past Croc, and then your Lantern was in Bubble Mountain. So it was nice, but yeah, definitely not required.
Yeah, it mattered a little bit though, like something significant was there, and I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. This play almost like never ends up really mattering.
Yeah, chat was definitely hoping for a blind pull Ice Rod, just because they really wanted blind pull to be something on pedestal. So
it was unfortunately just missiles, but
at least they got to see it.
Again,
okay,
did you have anything else?
No, that's everything I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you very much for the run.
Congratulations. Good luck against Alucard. Do we have Hatch coming in here? Saw him in the Discord earlier, but I don't see him at the moment. So,
No, his mic was not working properly on Discord, so he had to go ahead and bail. He was talking in chat, though, and kind of talking to chat and kind of following along and answering questions, too.
that's fair. So, that's unfortunate we don't get a full voice interview with Hatch, but he ran a very good race, and it just, the routing with the seed logic was just one of those terrible logics that...
You have to Hatch, if you're still around, it was fun watching you run this race because you were very emotive in your reactions, and I think that was a big source of entertainment for people as well. Good job, you did really good. It really came down to just like one check where, you know, he zigged, you zagged, and it turned out that his was the right way to go. So good job and good luck.
Anyway, Coming up on SpeedGaming at 1:15 a.m. Eastern, we have a Zelda 1 randomizer match. Random Effect versus Jay Coper. If you're still awake at that time, feel free to watch it. It'll be a great race. That'll be starting in approximately 45 minutes. And with that, I don't have anything else.
I do not
Nope.
either. Good night, everybody. For those going to bed and for those staying up, I hope the race is just as entertaining as this one was.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned for some more Speed Gaming Live on the Speed Gaming channel and networks.